cumbukaay tur day uyu borom jasna piir soo ko bëggee fii si biir Gambia bi dawal foofu sa quality jasna your number one stop shop. Ana sama jigéen ñi dama bëgg ngeen jox ma seen nopp garmi yi ndaxte quality jasna amal nañ leen ay til yu toj daala poos abaaya yu yiiw waaye it amal nañ leen ay boreda yu rafet boreda yoo xam ne pour góor ñi la ak pour jigéen ñi amal nañ leen body scrub yi nga xam ne nii dafay defar seen yaram bam nice waaye it fàttewuñ fa diw yi. Ana sama jeeg yu pare yi quality jasna amal nañ leen fa andi cuuraay yu neex house spray ak bépp xeetu baax pour seen biir néeg. Dama ne atum ren jii ku sa jëkkër mere ku ne yow la neex ndaxte quality jasna ñëw na si dëkk bi pour defar sëy yi. Makeup artist yi bàyyi ngeen gannaaw ñu ngi leen fa amal ay makeup product yu quality. Waxu leen léegi nii foofa sa Westfield jàkkaarloog monument bi wala nga jokkoo quality jasna si 250 01 24 ak quality jasna taaral sa bopp taaral sa néeg waaye it bégal sa alaaji aas.
Event. We also have people from represented here from the political parties through the IPC, that is the Interparty Committee, and their youth branch here present with us. We also have our regional delegates. We ensure that we are able to get at least one person from every region in the Gambia through the Activista chapters. But again, we have our partners with us here. We have the Supreme Islamic Council represented here as participants and of course as people to also be engaged during the panel discussions. We also have the Christian Council with us here as participants. And I said earlier that we have people from different faith organizations in the Gambia. We welcome you all to this very important gathering where we would be discussing on national issues, but especially on issues that have to do with religion and of course religious tolerance. I would want to invite Dauda Bojang to come and lead us in the Muslim prayers. Please, Dauda, you're welcome.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا إنا أسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل. اللهم إنا أسألك الخير المسألة وخير الدعاء وخير النجاح وخير العمل وخير الثواب برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل وارزقنا من الفحم عنك وعن رسولك صلى الله عليه وسلم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آل نبينا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك اللهم على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آل نبينا محمد في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. وصل اللهم وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
Thank you very much, Dauda. Jane, please lead us in the Christian prayers.
We begin our prayers in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Almighty and ever-living God, we thank you. We appreciate you because you are the God of heaven and earth. We thank you for where two or three are gathered in your name, you are there in their midst. As we gather, Lord, in the name of Jesus, for this wonderful conversation, for this conversation, oh God, that is needed in our midst and in our time today. Lord, we ask you that your presence will engulf us this hour. We ask you that your presence will be with us in this place and that these conversations, oh God, will be fruitful to the advancement of our nation in the name of Jesus. We thank you, Father, for this gathering, Lord. And we ask you, oh God, that you manifest your wisdom in this place tonight, that you manifest your power. In Jesus' most wonderful name we pray. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without an amen. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without an amen. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without an amen. We cover this place with the blood of Jesus. In Jesus' name we pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you. Quickly, I will just introduce the, how do I call it, the high table.
Basically, everyone.
All right. So on my far right, I have the executive director of the National Human Rights Commission, who also doubles as a lecturer at the University of the Gambia. But here in his position, he serves as the chairman to the Activista board of directors. Doctor, you're welcome. His name is Dr. Seto Kasama. The other gentleman right next to me is the president of the Gambia Press Union, who also serves at the Activista board. Mohamed Esba is a prominent name and also a household name in the Gambia. MS, you are welcome. Our mother in the middle, our auntie in the middle, is the executive director of Action Aid International, the Gambia. And we are proud to inform this gathering that Activista is able to call people to this national interfaith dialogue as a result of their funding and also their support. And Indela, I keep saying this all the time, that Activista will keep singing Action Aid's name for the role that you keep playing in our lives and also impacting the lives and livelihood of a lot of people in the Gambia, especially those in the rural communities. We also understand the role that you play in terms of youth empowerment. But most importantly, we understand that there has been a lot of happenings, especially around faiths in the Gambia. So this event becomes timely, and your organization, your institution funding this for Activista to mobilize people, bring them here, is definitely timely, and I definitely would thank Action Aid for that. You're welcome. So quickly, I want to invite Mr. or Dr. Sekou Gasama, board chairman for Activista the Gambia, to give us a welcoming remark and also give us a very brief statement as to why we are here. Doctor, you're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Message of peace to all of you. Peace being the subject of discussion this morning. I want to recognize the presence of the Executive Director, Action Aid, Ndela, my colleague. And sitting next to him, Mohamed MS Ba, our board member, and also doubles as the president of GPU. I take this opportunity to welcome you all. All the participants, I think, have been mentioned by Ansumana, the moderator of the session. So I say welcome to this program. As I said, this is a peaceful gathering. as indicated in the title, Interfaith Dialogue. The essence of the dialogue is to promote tolerance among different faiths, groups, ethnicities, and various denominations. The program, from a practitioner's perspective, practitioner of peace and conflict, would say is preventive action. What do we mean by preventive action? These are actions or activities within peace and conflict studies that is geared towards preventing conflict. So this dialogue is one of those. So we are happy to host this dialogue today under the auspices and generous funding of ActionAid, for which we are indeed grateful. I think the national coordinator has highlighted that ActionAid has always been supporting Activista. It's a long story, which we cannot tell within this short period. But we are indeed grateful for ActionAid's support, and we implore more. Activista has always been seen as a baby of ActionAid. It's still such. Hopefully, we look forward to the usual support from ActionAid to keep Activista going, because the essence is to get them empowered, so that they can stand on their own and do things. That's the objective, and we look forward to that. So this gathering essentially is to promote discussion, about issues relating to interfaith issues, our way of living, how we can promote peaceful coexistence. The preamble of the 1997 Constitution talks about creating a stable, peaceful, and democratic society. This is the objective, the bigger objective of that Constitution. So essentially, this meeting is trying to realize that objective so that we can sit, in our own corners together, talk about issues with the objective of promoting peaceful tolerance among different faiths. Without much ado, I would like to say thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for being brief and also taking us through those wisdoms. I'll quickly want to invite MS to also give us his perspective and also make a statement as to why the media is important in this gathering. Even though he's going to be part of the first panel discussion, but it's important that he's also able to make a statement here. MS, you're welcome, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's difficult to make a statement after Dr. Kausukas, but I will try. Good morning to Mr. Chair, Activista, the Gambia, Auntie Ndela, our very vibrant auntie. It's good to have you. And our able coordinator, Ansu, and your team. You really did a great job in ensuring that this event holds today. And I would also like to recognize the presence of the Islamic Council, the Supreme Islamic Council, and the Christian Council, as well as the political parties who are very key in religious tolerance as well as political tolerance. And my colleagues, the young people, Activista, Up with Justice, and my colleagues from the media. It's indeed a pleasure to stand before you and give a brief remarks. I will give it because I will have a presentation, or I will be part of the panel discussion on the role of media in religious tolerance. So I will make a general statement, as Gambia is a democratic country, and how important religious tolerance is in a democratic setting. I start. In a democracy where diverse voices coexist, religious tolerance stands as a cornerstone for harmonious society. It is crucial to recognize that our differences in beliefs and faith enrich the fabric of our nation rather than dividing us. Embracing religious tolerance is very key, and fostering this understanding will ensure that we have great democracy where everyone lives very fruitful life. In a democratic setting, every individual has the right to practice their religion freely without fear or discrimination or persecution. When we uphold religious tolerance, we ensure that these rights are safeguarded, allowing people to express their convictions without hindrance. Furthermore, religious tolerance nurtures an environment of empathy and compassion, and promoting open dialogues like this is very important, where ideas could be exchanged and where everyone will be respecting each other's views, and where some critical misconceptions will be demystified, and where clear understanding will be put in place, and where brotherhood and sisterhood will be strengthened. Let us commit ourselves to cherishing and upholding religious tolerance as an essential aspect of our democratic foundation. By doing so, we can create a brighter future where our unity in diversity becomes the bedrock of thriving and a just nation. I am urging participants, colleagues, and people from our religious leaders, because you are the most trusted, according to the Afrobarometer survey, that religious leaders are the most trusted in this country. So it's an opportunity for us to discuss and also understand the importance of religious tolerance in our country, which will definitely help us to embrace unity and consolidate our democratic gains. On that note, thank you all for your kind.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. That was brief and also very, very much insightful. Quickly, I would want to invite the Executive Director of ActionAid International, the Gambia, to give us the opening statement and also a remark. Thank you.
Good morning. And Sumana, before you move, I want to confirm, is that Lamin Sisi from Gado? Where is the sign language interpreter for him?
He should be here.
Well, you've catered for that?
Yes.
It's important, huh? He needs that.
So it was facilitated through the EFD. So they told me that a sign interpreter will be there.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay. Okay, thank you. And sorry for that interruption. We were talking about inclusion.
Yes.
So if we invite people with disabilities, we need to cater for their participation, and I recognize it. So sorry for that. Okay, good morning, members of the high table. Yes, they are sitting higher than you, but they are not different from you. And delegates from different faiths, Christians, Muslims, and the others. This is a secular country. CSOs, media, and regional delegates, I guess. We're talking about delegates from both the urban and the region, the urban area. I am really very delighted to be here with you to deliver the opening statement of this great and timely gathering, focused on promoting interfaith dialogue to enhance peace building, tolerance, and most importantly, to strengthen our social cohesion and coexistence. It's important. We are different, we are diverse, but we need to appreciate that we are different and appreciate our differences. It is known that the Gambia, as a nation, is by far one of the countries with most interconnectedness in the universe. People will say, Gambia, everyone is the same. We should cherish and nurture that and not allow it to fade. A small nation where everyone, regardless of ethnicity and religious affiliation, is virtually related. I don't think we have Gambians that can start naming who they're related to. And before you move to the fifth person, there's a connection somewhere. Either you are related by religion, you're related by tribe, you're related by region, or even through your family extension. My friend, my classmate ends up being my sister's elder sister. Because I was in the same class with her elder sister, so we are now sisters. So let's not joke with that. Those are some of the assets we have, and these are intangible assets that you're going to get anyway. And in a country that is increasingly interconnected, diverse, and interdependent, it is crucial that we embrace and hold the principles of respect, understanding, and acceptance of matters of faith and belief. Religion throughout history has played a significant role in shaping societies, cultures, and individuals. It has provided solace, guidance, and a sense of purpose to countless individuals across the globe. However, it is also undeniable that religious differences have at times been a source of division, conflict, and prejudice and discriminations, which are recipes for conflict. And if you look at the Gambia, we are very fragile states, whether we like to say it or not. And looking at our geography and looking at what is even happening in our region, it's going to increase our fragility. So among ourselves, we shouldn't allow religious intolerance to even come to perpetuate that. The Gambia is blessed with rich and beautiful religious traditions, each with its unique teachings, rituals, and practices. It is precisely this diversity that should be celebrated and cherished, rather than being a cause for division. We should cherish it. I think there's a common saying that the more the merrier. Two heads are better than one. So it's the same thing. I can't imagine a nation with only one religious practice. I can't imagine it. I've not seen it anywhere yet. Even where it is declared to be an Islamic state, they still have some minorities who do not subscribe to it. And that's just an example of how could we live together under one faith. I'm not sure how it will look like. It is precisely that there was that diversity that should be celebrated and cherished, yes, rather than being a cause for division. By embracing religious tolerance, we have the opportunity to foster harmony, understanding, and cooperation among people of different faiths. In fact, this has been the case for the Gambia since time immemorial. People who were born in Banjo, in those generations, it's difficult to work in and distinguish people by religion because they all behave and do similar things. Yes, there is more awareness, there is more interest for people to show their religious beliefs and their religious beliefs and values, but it should be done in the midst of tolerance so that we each give each other the space that they deserve to live. Because we all know that where my right stops is where somebody's right starts. By embracing religious tolerance, we have the opportunity, yes, to foster harmony, understanding, and cooperation among people of different faiths. And this has been the case for Gambia, and we want to promote that. The people of different faiths attended each other's functions, faced and have coexisted for time immemorial. And this has been our biggest strength and asset. So thus our success lies in maintaining this type of history. Religious tolerance does not require us to abandon our own beliefs. Giving respect to the next person who do not believe and subscribe to my religion does not necessarily change my own belief and my value. It's just recognizing that we are different and we will be different. And it calls upon us to recognize that diversity of thought and belief is a fundamental aspect of human existence and also human rights recognition. It challenges us to rise above our differences and to find common grounds based on our shared values of compassion, empathy, and respect for human dignity and rule of law. We are living in a state where we are promoting good governance that requires each and everyone to respect, tolerate the other person, no matter how different you are. And in a world grappling with numerous challenges such as poverty, inequality, injustice, environmental degradation, just to name a few of the issues that we are all dealing with, religious tolerance becomes even more vital. If in the midst of all these challenges, we encourage religious intolerance into it, it's going to make us worse off because religion is so strong in our society. it's one of those things that if it begins to shake, we are going to be in more trouble. And by working together, transcending religious boundaries, we can harness the collective wisdom, compassion, and resources of diverse communities to address these pressing issues. We can use religion to even help address some of these social issues that we are grappling with. Because religion is so diverse. It has touched on everything that affects the way of life. It's about how we interpret it, based on how we interpret it for different people to practice it, and how it is understood, which also, in a way, is promoting, but in other ways, is creating more harm than good. And we all have a role to make it work right. It is our responsibility as individuals and as a society to actively promote religious tolerance in our daily lives. We must reject prejudice, discrimination, and bigotry based on religious differences. Instead, let us engage in open dialogue, like one of these, and a whole lot of others. Seek to understand one another, which is important. It's good to try to understand why I'm behaving the way I behave, why I'm holding on to what I believe in, and not try to change me from that forcefully, so that we can foster an atmosphere of mutual respect and appreciation. And education and awareness are essential tools, and I think this forum will generate that, because I see there will be open lectures from people who really have good knowledge of the religions that we are going to be discussing. And please, I'll encourage you to pay attention to those and add it to whatever you've come with. Because by promoting interfaith dialogue, cultural exchanges, and religious literacy, we can break down stereotypes, dispel ignorance, and build bridges for understanding between people of different faiths. Through such efforts, we can cultivate a society where diversity is valued. We are diverse and we will ever be diverse. And religious freedom is upheld as a fundamental human right. And I think that is why we're all here. Let's have the lens of human rights at the back of everyone as we discuss these religious diversities during the 2 days. Actually, the Gambia and the West Africa region in particular, and I think we're all aware, is very fragile as we speak due to political, economic, and social problems, which, if allowed, can escalate to serious violences that can lead us to more troubles and, in essence, will retard us from achieving our development agendas. We can participate in development interventions if we have to run for our lives. Schools get closed if there is conflict. Example is from the Casamance area. When the south of Senegal shakes, people leave their homes and everyone come to Gambia, students. And that's just a minor example. So you can imagine if it goes to a bigger magnitude, all other things will stop, including even the sick will try to run away from the hospital where they have gone to seek for health. And actually, internationally, the Gambia is cognizant of these facts and recognize that conflicts affect all. However, women and children are more vulnerable than any group. Women, children, persons with disabilities, the sick, the elderly, all of those people becomes the victims. And many times they are not the perpetrators of the issues that lead to the conflict. So what do we do about those? We all have a responsibility, because I've seen all of you are young people who are active. So let's use our energy to promote religious tolerance, to promote peace. Because these and many other reasons prompted Action Aid to partner with Activista to form this essential convergence that will pave the way and nurture the way for sustained peace. And I recognize that this is not the first one. There have been so many dialogues organized. So we're adding on to those, because more people need to come in and get more information and go back and share with others, so that we can have a generation that is very aware and not utilized by different groups for their own interests in the name of religion. In conclusion, let us remember that religious tolerance is not a lofty ideal or an abstract concept. It is a practical imperative that can shape the destiny of nations and the lives of individuals. And by embracing religious tolerance, we can build a world where people of all faiths and beliefs can coexist peacefully, drawing strength from their diversity and working together for the common good. While I officially open this great convergence, I wish to express profound appreciation to the government. I'm not sure whether anyone is representing them here. Nonetheless, we have a government that rules this country, which needs to be recognized, and we will keep engaging them to get them on board, because all what we are doing is to complement what they're supposed to do as duty bearers. Also extend appreciation to development partners and civil society organizations, all of you that are here present, for the different roles that is being played. Because like I said, we are only adding to what everybody else is doing work on so that we can maintain peace and stability in the Gambia. Most importantly, I want to implore on the religious leaders to use your platforms, your pulpits, to help us preach to people to understand that religion is not force. You can get more people to follow when you appreciate, when you understand them and win them over. And where they refuse to join you, appreciate and let them be. So that together we can maintain a peaceful Gambia, and a peaceful Gambia will also escalate to a peaceful region. And together we can all do our development aspirations to move our country and our continent to the next level. On that note, I declare this workshop open, and I wish you fruitful deliberations between today and tomorrow. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Edie, for that statement and also officially opening this program. One thing that is key, and of course, a message on our t-shirt is that our diversity, our strength. I think this is one thing that has been keeping us together as people of a nation. So altogether, we keep saying that we have a nation to build, and that could be done through respecting diversity and also observing tolerance at all levels. So the opening ceremony is officially closed. Thank you very much for coming, board chair, ED, and also MS. So quickly, we would want to have a group photo outside, and when we are back, we will have the first panel discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you. The Gambia Press Union sent the president. Unfortunately, the Line Ministry for Religious Affairs is supposed to be here, but we underwent a lot of struggle to bring them here, but we are not able to have them. I will tell you the story. What happened is we sent a letter to the ministry on Wednesday so we can have them here, like we did to the Christian Council and also to the Supreme Islamic Council. When we went to their office, almost all the doors at the ministry were closed. We found a lady who said she's new at the ministry. We tried to get her contact, we couldn't. So we went to their website, collected their number, contact, and also their email, sent an email, it bounced back. We called all the numbers on their website, it didn't go. We went to their Facebook page, found the same numbers they are called, it didn't go. We had to go to their one of their Facebook posts and commented on it to say, we quickly and urgently need a number to communicate to at the ministry. They gave us the same number that was on the website. I texted them via messenger to say this number is not working. They sent me a QCell line that I called. We tried to arrange to have somebody here. It was yesterday that they called to say, because the permanent secretary is not there and they do not have a minister, the person there is overseeing their ministry. And based on that, they are not able to come join us in this program, unfortunately for us. But this is the story, you know. So I don't want to invite the panelists myself. I would rather invite Mr. Mohammed Kani to do with the mic like he is known to be doing all the time. Mohammed, you are welcome.
Thank you so much. What you want me to use the podium? That's yeah, right. You can use the podium. No, it's okay. It's all right. Don't worry. You will use the podium. Huh? Yes, I will. Probably one of the most important conversations that you will ever have is a conversation that is related to your faith. Because as believers, you understand that it is not only something that is worldly, but it is something that takes you to your grave. And this is something that takes you further, meaning a day that you will be resurrected to stand before your Lord, and you'll be held accountable for everything that happens. So there cannot be any conversation as important as this. That is why in the context of this country called the Gambia, we have the two biggest faiths here. We have a representative from the Islamic Council who is going to join us in the panel very soon. And we have a representative from the Gambia Christian Council who will be joining us very soon. And we will have
the president of the Gambia Press Union as well, to join us. We are going to have a very interesting conversation, a conversation that is going to be anchored on a lot of maturity, sincerity, and dedication to ensuring that we live together peacefully in this country. That's the whole target. We're not digging wounds. This conversation is not in any way going to dig wounds. Rather, we want to discuss the way forward. We know we are threatened. Even when we pretend to live in peace, we know we are threatened. Conversations should unearth the reasons why we feel we are threatened, so that together as a community, we can come up with policies, mechanisms to ensure our continuity as a people. On that note, I wish to invite on stage the representative from the Supreme Islamic Council, Brother Omar A. Bojan. Bismillah. This morning, a couple of minutes ago, I met a gentleman. I walked up to him and I asked for the name. It so happened that he gave me a surname that is also my mom's surname. So he is not only going to be a representative here, he is also going to be my uncle on stage. So I welcome Father Moses Drame from the Gambia's Christian Council. Thank you.
The ministry was supposed to be here. Unfortunately,
Are you from the ministry? You're not speaking for them. But, for the panelists is my brother, MS Jalo from the Gambia Press Union. Please put up your hands for him. Thank you, MS. Or MS Ba. Well, the Jalos are also always saying they are the best, isn't it? And the Bas are always challenging that. Are you Ba? Jalo. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sometimes I will be unconventional. I may not necessarily have to wait until the panel discussion is over before I come over to the floor. So if you have questions as the proceedings go, please write your questions down. Let me make one thing very clear. Gambians, we are not very good listeners. And I know why I'm telling you this. It's very simple. I have moderated sessions, and I've also helped train other people on public speaking. Please, if you write a question now, and 5 minutes later, somebody talks about that from the panel, that question becomes irrelevant. Do you understand? When a Gambian writes a question, he wants to ask that question as it is, even when somebody discusses that. So if you write a question now, it has to be very, very relevant at the time that you want to say it. Do we understand that? So you may have to be changing your questions here and there. Is that clear? The first part of this panel discussion, I will have these three gentlemen to take 3 minutes of their time. They will dilate on the theme of this discussion, ensuring continuity in peaceful coexistence through religious tolerance and dialogue. They will each have about 3 minutes to give us a broader perspective. Then individually, they will be asked questions in accordance with how panels are conducted. Then we will come back to the floor as well, and we will ask your questions. The panelists will be here to respond to them. Let us ensure that questions that are going to be asked here are meant to be questions that will promote our coexistence. I repeat, questions that will be asked are meant to be questions that will promote our coexistence. Clear, right? The panel begins now. And I will start with my brother, MS Ba. MS Ba, please, your take on ensuring continuity in peaceful coexistence through religious tolerance and dialogue. Welcome.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, greetings. It's good that you start with me because leader speaks. It's very hard to also have something to say. But I will look into the media aspect. How media can promote religious tolerance as well as peaceful coexistence. First, the media. We all know the media is referred to as the fourth estate. We are tasked by the Constitution to hold government accountable and also make sure we create divergent and dissenting opinion and enhance the respect of the rule of law and ensure human rights is respected to the fullest. And we understand that the media is powerful. And we've seen a lot of media convergence, and everyone who has something to say goes to the media, even the politicians, the religious leaders, everyone goes to the media because the media is a platform that amplifies the voices of the masses. So first, we've observed that there is a problem, that mostly people who propagate hate speech, they are not mainly the media practitioners. They are not mainly media personnel, but they use the media to propagate hate speech against others. They use the media to spread out disinformation and misinformation. And these are serious conflict drivers. We've seen during elections, people will use the media to peddle certain perception against others based on religion. We've seen that during the presidential elections. So how can media ensure that there is peaceful coexistence? Because you cannot talk about peaceful coexistence without the media. The media plays a key role. It's either we involve them or not, but they will involve themselves because this is our role. We've seen also very dangerous rhetorics on the media, even media personnel peddling very dangerous rhetorics against people, against tribes, against religion. Now, coming to the role of the media, because I have 3 minutes, so I will try to sum it up. One is the media should report responsibly. Underline it, responsibly. You have the role to report responsibly. It's a very key ethical principle that you have to respond. You have the right to report, you have the right to freedom of expression, you have the right to media freedom, but you have to make it responsibly. And secondly, one of our key role as media practitioners is holding government accountable, and not only government, but people who are in office, like who are, religious leaders are part of them. Even ourselves as media leaders, even politicians, even community leaders, and holding ourselves to account in whatever we do. We have to hold ourselves to account. Accountability is number 2, media. And the third one is promoting peace. How can you promote peace? Now they call it peaceful journalism. Because before you becoming a journalist, you are a citizen of a country. Before you becoming a citizen, probably, maybe you are a citizen at the same time you have a belief. You are from a religion, and you believe that religion. But what can you do to ensure that even you don't believe in other people's religion, you have to ensure that you promote peace by peace reporting things like, for instance, look at Christmas. Look at the things that are very relevant to our society. We are doing them unconsciously. Like, for instance, myself, I'm related to a Christian family. I used to go to their homes to grace very good occasions with them. They used to come to my house. So this is very important. How can media look at that as a positive way in promoting peace, and also flagging dangerous speech that can cause violence? For instance, if someone says, we should hate all the members of such religion or so and so religion. We have seen it where media report dangerous speeches against other religions. We've seen religious leaders standing on podiums and saying that we have to kill or we have to be ready to go to war against certain people, and which is dangerous, and the media will use that. That would have been flagged by the media and say, hey, the public, this is a dangerous speech. Be very careful of this. If politicians also use, number one, okay, 20 seconds. We've seen also politicians using the religious rhetorics to get political scores. The media should flag it immediately, without no doubt. So on that note, I would like to leave it as it is until I am engaged. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a brilliant conversation there. And he has highlighted a few things. The media reporting responsibly, holding authority to account, promoting peace, and flagging dangerous speech. MS, I'll come to you because we have a lot to talk about it.
Oh.
And next, we would have my uncle, Father Moses Trame, to give us his opening remarks.
Good morning to you, my dear brothers and sisters, and all respectful people outside. I'm privileged to be here this morning to be part of this important conversation representing Gambia Christian Council. First and foremost, I want to underscore one fact, that Christians and Muslims share the same origin. Christians and Muslims are offshoots of Judaism, and therefore we have the same ancestry. We have the same or share the same creator, whom the Christians would call God and the Muslims will call Allah. Recognizing this fact, I believe, is a solid point of departure for peaceful coexistence. Therefore, we will be able to see ourselves as brothers and sisters, offsprings of the same parent. And that is the reason why the church dedicates two important documents just on interreligious dialogue. The first is Nostra Aetate, which actually came into existence in 28th of October 1965. And this document was considered as the turning point of the relationship between church of Christianity or Catholicism and the other religions. The document indicated or dedicated an entire article, the third article, to Muslims by appreciating major features in their doctrine of God, which are synonymous to what Christians believe and profess. They worship God who is unique, living and subsistent, merciful and almighty, the creator of heaven and earth, who has spoken to human beings, acknowledging the fact that God has spoken to men, and like Abraham, to whose faith they link theirs, they submit totally to the hidden plan of God, thus validating their worship rendered to God. The document continued to further show the recognition and honor Muslims accord to the Blessed Virgin Mary and the virginal conception of Jesus as a prophet. Finally, the document praised the moral life of Muslims and their fidelity to prayer, fasting, almsgiving, and worship of God, with specific reference to the 7 pillars of Islam. The document invites Christians and Muslims to a new dawn in their relationship, where hostilities will not be remembered, but they are encouraged to forge ahead toward a brighter future of mutual trust and openness, reconciliation, peace, and charity. Another document that talks about this is Lumen Gentium. But there is another document, because we do not have time, which that is Argentus. Argentus states that in every culture there is present the consciousness of the divine, what is called the semina verbi. And because of this, John S. Mbiti, some religious students or historians and historians here would have read writings of Mbiti from Kenya. He indicated that Africans are notoriously religious, and each people has its own religious system with sets of beliefs and practices, and religion permeates into all departments of their lives. And this is to affirm what Agente states, that in every culture there is the consciousness of the divine. And during this engagement, it is important for us to appreciate that religious pluralism must be something that we need to appreciate in our culture, in our day and age. When Islam and Christianity came first, they did not appreciate that, because they came and met our people practicing African traditional religion and never appreciated it. But those people at the time had the consciousness of the divine, and that had become part and parcel of us today. Christianity has thrived, Islam has thrived, yet our people are still bent on practicing their traditional religions. Thank you.
That was a beautiful event. And I'm sure we will have more of that coming up in the conversation. I am definitely so impressed to hear from my uncle make mention of some very key things that are deeply held according to some documents in the Christian faith. And obviously, if there is any religion closer to each other with ties that bind them very close, it's Islam and Christianity. Think of the case of Isa, Jesus. Think of the case of Maryam, Mary. Think about these stories. Think about the whole chapter in the Quran of the Muslims being dedicated to Mary. So the ties are very close. The ties are very, very close. So it is like in that community where you say we most hold on to the things that actually unite us than what divides us. Because most of the time, things or elements that divide us are very thin. They're very thin and they can be very few. Yet they can actually make the whole difference. So maturity in people of all faith is what actually ushers that kind of a relationship, where they look at the bigger picture. And when they reach out to each other, they reach out to each other with their hearts. That yes, you are my brother. Not something that works on your lips and it never dies. So thank you so much, Father and Uncle. It's great to have you give us a rundown of such beautiful words. And now we have a representative from the Supreme Islamic Council, Brother Omar Boja, who is going to give us his remark on ensuring community and peaceful coexistence through religious tolerance and dialogue.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. I say assalamu alaikum to all of you. Alhamdulillah, I am deeply honored to be part of this very important discussion, a national discussion as usual, representing the Gambia Supreme Islamic Council. Islam is a holistic religion that has touched or that touches every aspect of human life. Islam has been preceded by legislation, other religions like Judaism and Christianity. That is why if you navigate through the doctrines of Quran or to the doctrines of religion, especially Quran, you will find a lot of stories about Christianity and Judaism, a lot of them. And it is stated in the Quran that a religion that is closer to Islam in harmony and love are those who call themselves Christians. And fortunately for the Gambia, we have virtually 100% of Muslims and Christians in this country. 95.7% Muslims, approximately 4.2% Christians. That is almost 100% Muslim and Christian community. So Gambia is a religious state, and that must be respected and that must be nurtured. Islam as a religion goes through different experiences in terms of religious tolerance. When it came, it was weak, found other religions there, religious groups stronger, and it struggled under them, faced a lot of persecution. But in order for Muslims to mitigate that persecution in the early days of Islam, Prophet Muhammad والسلام, asked weaker Muslims to travel, not to Arab countries, not to where Jews are. He asked them to go to Abyssinia, Ethiopia in Africa. He told them, you will go there. There is a man, a Christian king called Najasi. This is a man whom, in the presence of whom, brother, no one is oppressed. This is why later some delegation came from Ethiopia and visited Prophet Ali in Medina. Prophet welcomed them. He said, they had honored our people before. I will honor them myself. So the relationship between Muslims and Christians is very strong. If you go through our scriptures, you will not find anything that will create disharmonies. So our scriptures are very clear, and there are principles, rules, and regulations that everybody should understand and respect. Basically, because people need number, people need people, other forces need people. And in order to people's emotion and heart is about religion is natural, is divine. If you want to easily irritate or touch somebody's emotion, just attack the religion. So therefore, other forces would use religious lines in able to divide people for their selfish interest. Therefore, it is important that both Muslims and Christians, especially in this country, Christian Council, Islamic Council, the government, to promote religious literacy. Let people understand their religion. Because those who are ignorant of their religion, in most cases, these are the people that create problems in our societies. And the society that we live, despite any system that we embrace or that has been forced to us to embrace, we must understand that we are religious people. And in our policies, in our constitutions, whatever we formulate to regulate our people, we must be conscious that we are religious people, we are Muslims and Christians. There will be no conflict. But obviously, if a foreign force or another force wants to come and be imposed on Gambians using any group, definitely all of us should come together and say, no, this is against our religion. Well, once we do that, we want to be open up to religious leaders cannot be open up to everything, cannot accept everything, because otherwise there will be no religion. So we must stick to our principle. We must stick to our rules and regulations. I hope if you all endeavor to do that, there will be no foreign element that will intrude on our society to create any chaos or disharmony. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. He talked about the importance of religious literacy, and obviously the story of persecution that the Meccans were going through until the Prophet, like he said, asked his people to travel to Abyssinia, where the ruler was a Christian. And imagine that statement that says, he is somebody who does not make persecution. That shows to you the kind of leadership that was in place 1,500 years ago now. Imagine. And when they were also in Medina, it was not like deputing somebody to take care of them. I will take care of them myself. Because when our people were under persecution and were sent away, they supported them. It's actually knowledge that tells you these things. Like he said, people who do not actually have the knowledge are usually, or most often, the ones who will play with religion in order to achieve their own goals. But those who have knowledge would definitely not allow that. And he also emphasized the fact that the Gambia is a religious community. If you add the population of the Muslims and the Christians together, it's almost 100%, like he said. And then, if you go back to history, you realize what my uncle, Father Drame, has talked about according to the documents in the Christian faith. There is that admiration and respect for the Muslims. In the other way, or on the other hand, you have the Quran of the Muslims telling them that the closest to you in faith are the Christians. So if we all go back to the roots, there cannot be any problem. So now that we feel there is a bit of trouble around us, because it's only when you admit to the factors around you, then you can together form a synergy to come up with mechanisms to ensure that there are no troubles. Like the gentleman said, preventive actions, as in peace and security studies. That is what we want to do now. We do not say there are problems, okay? But then the fact remains that there are certain things that are rearing their ugly heads. We need to chop their heads off so that we maintain our peace. You understand what I mean? I'm not advocating for violence. So MS, I'm going back to you now, and we are now going to have our question and answer sessions. Let us keep this as engaging as possible, please, yeah? MS, my question is, what factors do you think threatens our coexistence now? What factors threaten our coexistence?
Thank you very much. First is ignorance. You see people who are not knowledgeable on certain religion or either ways, trying to use public domains and speak against others. I think they've made mention of knowledge. Knowledge is very important. So ignorance is number one, because if you don't understand Islam and you want to talk about Islam, then it becomes a problem. If you don't understand Christianity and you want to talk about Christianity, then it's a problem. Another thing is politics. Politics, I'm not saying is bad, but some politicians uses, religious rhetorics to just to divide, and tint certain persons in a way that people might rally against you, or just to get political stuff. Just observe during elections, all these problems, most of these problems are religious intolerance. It comes when there is elections. Yeah, they can say, certain people are from this religion, or these are either Muslims or Christians, don't vote for them. It's happening. These are things that are happening here. We've seen it. So, first, ignorance, people who are not vast in the knowledge. And the third one is, as we speak, like, for instance, media amplifying it. Media, if we have an argument between myself and you, just around a corner, if you don't have any mode of transmission, anything that will amplify that conversation, then a third person cannot hear that conversation. But what happens is media, some, not everyone, will sensationalize it, especially the emergence of the new media, which is the online media platforms. They will just say, wow, this is a catchy story. This guy has attacked. We've seen mostly we've seen intra-religious conflict, like inter-religious conflict, amongst a particular religion.
So let me come to that.
Yes. Yes.
Now, you're talking about the media amplifying the voices. And most often than not, when it comes to religion, there has to be that element of sensationalism.
Yes.
So that they actually sell more.
Yes.
Now, we have a lot of issues when it comes to the online media. Now, as the president of the Gambia Press Union, what mechanisms do you have in place in order to be able to mitigate the effect of those who practice journalism online?
That is, building their capacities. We are engaging them a lot on capacity building for them to be exposed to ethical journalism. In ethical journalism, you are not allowed to do certain things. So it's a problem. And even individuals, not only journalists that does that, people who do the work of a journal, like influencers, social media influencers. Like you will have a page which is very popular, probably you have 100,000 followers, and now your popularity, is very wide, is very broad, and you want to use that to propagate religious intolerance. Probably you are a partisan person, you are into politics, and your interest is to, probably support a particular political party. So you say, let me just use this as a means to propagate, people against this person.
If we have circumstances like that, I understand it's actually not everybody that is going to wear the tag of the Gambia Press Union and say, I'm a journalist.
Yeah.
Not some of them are definitely not trained, we agree. But in instances where a media house comes up with a very sensational story, that which tends to disturb the peace in terms of religion, do you have any instances when the Gambia Press Union actually stepped in to ensure such a kind of a thing never repeats itself?
Yes, we've established a media council. There's a body that is called Media Council. People can report. It's just like the police of the media. People can report anything that they think is not right that the media is publishing. You can go there, file a complaint, a formal complaint, and then they will take it up. And if anyone is found wanting, you will be penalized severely. The media council is there. I know tomorrow probably there's a conversation around it. So this body was established by the Gambia Press Union. It comprises of human rights lawyers, the business environment, the government, all actors, the civil society, so that we can have a clear understanding of all the issues that happens around. So they have presided over cases. If you see even a citizen, if you see a publication that you think could be dangerous against religious intolerance, politics, or whatever, you can go to the Media Council. I'm sure you will be having a conversation with by email tomorrow. How would you be able to, how can you access the Media Council, and what are some of the complaints that one can bring?
Thank you so much. And that goes to the audience. Please take note, there is the Media Council. If there's something up there on the papers that you're not happy with, that you think will threaten our peace, you as a citizen, you also have the right to complain. And now we go to my uncle and father. What do you think threatens our coexistence?
Your phone.
Thank you very much for this question. And I believe most of us invited to this function have this at the back of our minds when we were coming, because a lot threatens mutual coexistence as people of different faiths. The first has been mentioned or repeated again, and that is education, lack of knowledge. This, if it is not checked, it will lead this nation to disaster, and that is not what you all desire. And I believe something needs to be done. And also in the formation, people need to be informed also that in this country of ours, the Gambia, there has ever existed a tradition. where Gambians, Christians, and Muslims live together. Where Gambians, Christians, and Muslims share. I was happy that the director of made mention of it. Some of us were born into the Gambia where we saw each other as brothers and sisters. Where when celebrating feasts, be Christian or Muslim, you wouldn't know who the Christian is and who the Muslim is. Because we saw each other as a united family. We saw each other as brothers and sisters. And she was quick to qualify that in Banjul then. And indeed, that used to be the practice. I always ask the question, when did we lose it? When did we lose that tradition that the Gambia was known for? And it is something we need to look seriously into. And the second is lack of tolerance. We are gradually seeing that in our society. People are not tolerating the order. And there is this idea of us versus them. That spirit is not Gambian. Gambians always saw themselves as one. And when we started encouraging this us versus them, it is when we started losing our focus on nation and started seeing other things. And I think we need to be tolerant towards one another. The third, I would say, is the rhetoric. Sometimes it comes from us religious leaders. The moment you begin to categorize, calling names, calling others, I don't want to use names or terms, labeling them as such, the faithful or your followers maybe are not well informed as you are, but for the fact that you have categorized them as such, they begin to perceive them as such. And at the end of the day, what happens? They are led to apply that in their relationship with others. So we need to be very sensitive, conscious of these things, and know that they are very sensitive. And maybe here too, we need to be open to religious pluralism. It's true, Christianity and Islam are all geared towards evangelizing, proselyting, increasing numbers. But it must be done in a humane way, not to discredit or tarnish the image or reputation of others, or even labeling individuals. We need to be conscious of those things. I think these are some of the threats that I have perceived in our society.
That's a wonderful one. So we have ignorance, lack of tolerance, and ignorance. I'll come back to all these things in a short period. Brother Amar Eboja from the Gambia Supreme Islamic Council. Muslims and Christians living together in the Gambia. What do you think threatens our coexistence?
Yeah, it is important that we understand each other. What is lacking here is we do not endeavor to understand each other's scriptures and rules and regulations in religions. Sometimes when you say intolerance, what is intolerance? Is a relative word. What do you mean by intolerance? I have to understand your religion to be able to know how to engage you and where to engage you and the limits. Where my religion asks me to go as far as possible, you should also understand that from me. If my religion allows me to interact you with 99% of what we do together, but there are 2 or 3 things he said, because you believe in this, you should not involve in this. I think the other party should also appreciate and respect that. Religion cannot be open-ended. You cannot accept everything. Otherwise, we will not call it religion. It's divine. The scriptures are there. So people should understand that. Otherwise, what is called, we don't have definite meaning of tolerance and intolerance in this country. As far as Islam is concerned, it has a balanced approach. Islam does not accept everything, and that's the reality. Although you cannot scold people for not doing them, but You cannot also accept that in Islam. But you cannot also, in Islam, you cannot also, hold people on their neck, to gloss over our differences. Differences are there. Differences are there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْ سَاءَ رَبُّكَ لَجَعَلَ النَّاسَ أُمَّةً وَاحِدًا وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ. If Allah had will, He would have made everybody one community. All of us could be Christians. Allah has that power. He could have made all of us Muslims, Jews. But He says, you will cease to differ. That is based on His wisdom. So in order for people to understand, to define what is tolerance and intolerance, we should know what is in our scriptures. Definitely, as far as that is not possible, everything that happened, people will just jump and say, this is tolerance, this is intolerance. Things happening for centuries, that is not a license that they were right religiously. Our dynamics is changing. Our social scientists should read our society. What used to happen in the 50s might not necessarily happen now. And in order to harmonize what is happening now, because of awareness and knowledge, is to ensure that people understand religion. We read their religion, let them read our religion. If I know the rules and the regulations in your religion, and you tend to not to associate me in certain activities because it's not your wish, it's from your religion. Definitely, if I am tolerant, I must respect you. And it's vice versa. So you must understand why the guy does not want to do with you or does not want to associate you. It's not from him, it's from his religion. And we cannot change that, it is divine. So knowledge is very important. And people should, when you live together, you should understand each other's culture. You should try to understand basic things from your religions. And I think that will be helpful. But otherwise, we'll keep talking and engaging, saying good words, but it will never materialize if people don't understand this. And I think it is high time. Now, this type of discussion, we have been doing it for many years with the Christian Council, but still the problem is increasing. Why? That's a fundamental problem. The fundamental problem is how to practice it. I can sit here and say all good things about Christians, but when I go out, I become evil on them. Am I right? I'm not honest to myself. So we must be honest to ourselves. Christians should understand what Islam, advises Muslims to do. And Muslims also should know the same thing, so that you will understand whether they are tolerant or they are not tolerant. People doing things for centuries is never a lancing that is right. People are more aware today than before. And I believe with education, it's all revolving around one thing, that is religious literacy. And to be frank to each other, let us not put things under the carpet. We must put things on the table and we discuss them frankly and honestly. I hope so. I hope this will help us to continue with the peaceful coexistence. And it's not be difficult in the Gambia if we all stick to our scriptures, as I always mention. Uncle, you made mention of
priests to concentrate only on the studies of Islam. Only on Islam. They would not study any other thing but Islam. Study the language, the history, and everything about it. And they would begin their formation in Egypt. And after 2-3 years in Egypt, then they would continue in Rome. And in the Gambia, we have priests. The cathedral administrator, we used to tease him that he is the parish priest of Adamo Barrow, Father Antoine Sambo. He was in Rome, and that was what he went to study. He specialized only on Islam. Again, Bishop Emeritus, the former Bishop Robert Patrick Ellison, he too was a specialist in Islam. And even in these houses of formation, what we call the major seminaries, Islam is considered a major course. It's considered a major course. It's not an elective, no. It's a major course that you need to study, especially those of us who are coming from sub-Saharan Africa. So you need to study Islam. So as regards the clergy, I can't say that our knowledge of Islam is 100%, but I can adequately say is more than 50%.
That is an amazing story here. Now let's get deeper and closer. You have the clergy are usually very much informed. It may not be 100% like you said, but that's fine. A good knowledge of something brings to light a lot of issues. You become more tolerant towards what you read than what you just have.
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes you tend to doubt it in the first place, if it is just mere words. Let us take it from the clergy, meaning the elites in court, down to the followers now. What mechanisms is the church putting in place to ensure that what the clergy actually read about tends to be understood by the common followers?
Exactly. And I believe in every parish you go, priests try to make their messages homely so that the people would understand. They bring it to the level of the ordinary people. And no priest would ever tell a faithful to do to the Muslim or what we would call the unbeliever any other thing. No. Because the message of Christian is what? Is to love. Who is your neighbor? Your neighbor is not the Christian. Your neighbor is the other person. Because the other person is created in the imago Dei, that is the image and likeness of God. Their faith does not count. And that is always the message. Your neighbor. Your neighbor. Neighbor has no is not covered with religion. Neighbor. Yes, your neighbor. Yeah.
Brother Omar, at the level of the Supreme Islamic Council or other faith-based organizations, what mechanisms are in place to ensure that there is that religious tolerance and harmony?
Well, actually, as far as Islam is concerned, especially if you go to the higher education of Islam, the colleges and universities, there are aspects where you are trained to, there are courses that you do for da'wah, to propagate Islam. It's normally called da'wah and du'at. And the fulcrum of that course is to call people to Islam based on wisdom. And there are a lot of traditions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu emphasizing our relationship with people of different faiths from the Quran. And at the council's level, in fact, we have an institution which is about to be restarted again. It was there, and later, due to some issues, that institution is purposely built to train the imams and scholars, those who were preaching especially in media. And actually, during Jammeh time, at least we were given some. They may say it's not constitutional, but we are given some little authority to be able to control those who preach in media. So we give them license to go through certain protocols to ensure that peace is strengthening. But as far as our model of democracy is concerned, we do not have that power. So the floor is open for everyone. You do not have authority to sanction anybody or to direct, but we do trainings, and the school, inshallah, very soon we'll start it again, and we'll, especially the younger generation, the younger du'ats who are just coming from universities. You know, youth are always very active, especially when they're from high institutions. So they need to be directed, because calling people to Islam is not only having the knowledge, the content, but it's a skill that you need to how to know how to talk to people. And Islam always calls for peace. So if you don't call peace, if you instigate violence, definitely you're not able to get anybody. So as far as the council is concerned, and we always engage our scholars, and our doors are always open, programs like this to come and advance our input, to ensure that we live in peace. Because definitely without peace, nothing can happen. We cannot go to our mosque, we cannot go to synagogues and churches. So it is paramount, and it is definitely a daily activity at the council where we try to mediate between people, especially between Muslims and non-Muslims, and definitely we use a very holistic approach with the Christian Council to ensure that prevails in the country.
If we are to have comparative religious studies in our society, what mechanism do you think we can put in place to ensure this is actually quite beneficial to the rest of the population? Because what I seem to understand from the conversations at this stage is that the Christian Council, obviously, by nature of the trainings, the knowledge stays within the clergy. And the trainings that you're also talking about, the major beneficiaries of such training will actually be the imams and the brats. They call us to Islam. But the problem actually hardly emanates from the top.
Yeah.
Most often than not, the problem is engineered at the grassroots level. Until it gets to a certain stage, then you have the leaders to up in because they cannot stand the wind.
No.
The storm would be so powerful that a clergy would have to go on stage and say something. An imam would have to go on stage and say something because otherwise your people say, no, you are not one of us. So what mechanisms can we put in place to ensure that this information is right filtered at the very bottom? Let me have Father John on that first.
As regards the Christians, we have a formation program that is run annually. And the formation program is not limited to adults. We have one for kids who are maybe in grade 9 or 10, who are in grades 3 or 4. We have another program for those in grade 9 or 10, and we have a program for those mature adults. And these programs are held annually. It is during these programs, and they have sessions weekly. They have weekly sessions. It is through these programs that we form the children to enable them understand and appreciate, as I mentioned, the neighbor. No matter the individual, but you need to treat your brother or your sister with love, with kindness, and respect. One thing that I have come to realize that we have lost totally is regard for the sacred. We have lost the regard for the sacred. Now people would pass a mosque and they wouldn't mind whether somebody is there praying or not. They don't mind. When we were much younger, you cannot pass a mosque or a church making noise. Even talking on the phone, you cannot. Maybe those years there were no telephones. Even if people were drumming and dancing, getting closer to a mosque, it will be announced, stop the drumming, stop the clapping or whatever, and they will pass in silence. And that those formations are what we continue to do with the children from those lower grades or lower years to adulthood.
Okay,
Yeah, I just want to, I have a suggestion. I think we should also learn from other countries. For instance, Ghana, they have a peace council where you have all these faith organizations. And this peace council also is filtered down to the ward level, district level. You know, probably if you have a peace council that can summon anyone and also engage into, you know, what you guys are doing, you know, educating people about religious tolerance. Because, you know, we have to have a convergence where the Muslims and the Christians and other faith have somewhere they can meet and discuss on issues and also let it filter down. It is working in other countries. So I believe that that should be institutionalized because we've seen, you know, for me, I believe there should be a decorum in terms of religion. Not everyone can come and preach anything. I know we have religious freedom, but also you cannot misinterpret what is written. You understand what I'm saying? You know, you cannot say because there were jihads, let's go and kill people. You know, if anyone does not accept Islam or maybe in Christianity, you also have to go. So misinterpretation of religious is dangerous. So that is why there should be a convergence at national level
something which is institutionalized. We have the Christians, the Muslims, and maybe other faith. Maybe they are 0.001%, and people who are very prominent, who can, start the conversation, because these people are doing great things. But where is the convergence? Where can we make to ensure that? And also, you said sometimes the problem starts at the bottom, but sometimes it starts on top. That is the political leaders. The political leaders, sometimes they are the ones that brings all these problems. They go to campaigns and then castigate other religions. Sometimes they go indoors, they will say things that are very bad to other people. So I think it's important that we have a convergence, a very powerful peace council that can summon the president, that can summon anyone and put you to order. And also, not only that, but look at our traditional way of solving problems, like the Baden Bungs. If you go to Woolley, they know Baden Bung, the guy from Woolley. When problem arises, religious issues, land issues, you understand, they know how to take care of it. How can we build on these things and make sure that these things are institutionalized, so that there will be a convergence where all religious practitioners will discuss. Yeah.
Anyone who is taking notes will have this as a position paper from Activista, please take note. He is suggesting convergence. As an individual, I do not ever want to associate violence with religion. Because the fact of the matter, as Mr. Bojan said and Father said, most often than not, it is people who are irreligious people. I mean, they ignore who want to bank on religion before the asylum goes. So I do not tend to believe that violence will be perpetrated by people who are truly knowledgeable in what they call other people. Because if you start with violence, how do you actually get religious? And if you talk about wars that has happened in the past as well, historically, when you say a certain faith is responsible for a certain war, and you go into history, you'll find out that actually it was actually not waged on the basis of religion. You wouldn't say that the First World War, the Second World War, were waged based on the science of religion. But more people died, millions of people actually lost their lives in those wars, right? So it is important that we have a convergence, like you have suggested. And I'm also going to add the issue of comparative religious studies is important. But if you do it at your corner, and I do it at my corner, how do I interpret my own scripture to the people that I'm teaching? And how do you interpret your scripture to the people that you teach? What if we have comparative religious studies that is going to be more open-minded and open dialogue, and you have people to speak on certain key elements of the religion? I think that's going to be another very important conversation that we could have. Mr. Bojan, do you have something you would add?
It's really also what is council doing to filter down that proposal about religious tolerance. You see, I think I want to remind you that we have a very wide platform as imams. Every Friday, almost every corner of the country, almost every Muslim will go to mosque. Majority of Muslims will go to the mosque. And even in our traditional functions, definitely imams and the scholars have opportunity to talk to people. And definitely they are doing that. They are talking to people on those backgrounds. So normally problems that emanate is not basically from religions, but they will use religious rhetorics to those who do not know, those who are ignorant, to activate their emotions so that they get what they want from them. And sometimes the problem also is with the media, as he said, he accepted that no, there are a lot of problems with his people. Certain problems that emerge as religious problems are not necessarily religious problems. These are people, individuals who are living together. And when people live together in the same area or the same office, they're bound to have certain issues. So obviously, when they belong to under different regions, the media will pick up as a religious tension. I always cite the issue of Tanene cemetery issue in Combo South. A Muslim who claimed owning a land, and our brothers Christians were using some part of the land for burial. That problem was not between Muslims. It was between an individual. Of course, he is a Muslim, but he claimed that he owned the land, and he has a problem with the Christian community. So the first approach was wrong, but when the council engaged and involved in the matter with the Christian council, we clarified the issue from the beginning that this is not the problem between two religions. It's a problem between one from one region and a community. So we are able to negotiate and discuss. The guy owned the land, but the council intervened in respect of the people that are buried there, and convinced the man to allocate some parts of the land, portion of the land, and give it to the Christian community to show respect for the human beings that are there. So I believe we must also differentiate religious problems and individual problems. Is very important, and the media should play a very great role in this domain, inshallah.
MS, he has actually highlighted something. Father, I'm sure you were aware of this story. You were there. And okay, what's your take on that? Let me hear from you.
Yeah, in fact, initially, before it became a problem, when the land was sold to the guy for to be used as a garden, what took me there was a funeral. We came to the place, and that was where the tomb was dug for burial. When we were burying, it never became an issue. And that was the reason why when I heard about the Tanene issue, I was surprised. Because when we went to bury there, it was never an issue. Because they were using the place as their cemetery. It was given to, even it was the one who allocated the place that was being buried on that day. But it was never an issue. So the guy and the community had agreed that this portion would be used as a cemetery. As my brother mentioned, sometimes it is the individuals and the media that would blow the whole issue out of proportion. And some other individuals would use it as an opportunity to score political gains. And I believe on this issue of Tanene, that was what happened. The whole matter was politicized. It was politicized. And sometimes people make reference to Tanene, that the cemetery. I laugh because they don't know the genesis of the whole thing.
Well, that's a beautiful one actually, because getting to know the genesis of the problem helps in proffering a solution to that. And I'm sure not many people here actually knew that the Christian Council and the Supreme Islamic Council got involved at that stage until they had to end that whole story. But imagine asking someone who owns the land to say, out of respect to the disease lying in that place, give this part of the land to the Christian population. Isn't that a beautiful thing to do? And it's important that we are aware of what happens in our society on a daily basis, especially that which relates to our faith. And Father, you've made mention of something quite intriguing here. You made mention of the olden days when people pass the church, they will be quiet. When people pass the mosque, they will be very quiet. I can imagine the beauty in those days. I respect your faith to the extent that when I pass by the church and people are inside worshiping, I don't want to be the one who causes noise. If you are in your masjid and you're praying, I don't want to be the one who causes noise. But these things are actually happening right now. How do we do that? How do we deal with it?
Yes, I think the only solution is to get back to the imams, and also the priests and the pastors, to help them educate or to inform them that it is their responsibility to educate their faithful, that the mosque or the masjid and the church are sacred places. They are places of prayer. For the fact that you have not had anybody praying, it doesn't mean that no one is inside. You need to give reverence to the place because the place is sacred. Therefore, always be conscious when you are passing a mosque or a masjid or a church. Give reverence to that place.
At this point, I feel it is important. If as a Christian, I have a problem with my neighbor because of the location of our houses of worship. I like to be very honest about issues. So just speak your mind. If we have that, we're still going to be very decent and civil. If we have those issues as a Christian, how do I relate that to the Christian Council? What mechanisms of reporting do you have that I as a Christian should know and follow?
Thank you for the question. And I think the moment you raised the question, I remembered an incident that happened on Good Friday in Talinding. Yes. And I believe the Supreme Islamic Council acted before us. The reason was very simple. Even the police, they acted before the Christian Council. And this we have also brought before the minister, that this was what happened. The Christian community that was affected never reported the issue to Christian Council. We didn't know. We only knew about it at the last minute. This was around 8 o'clock on Saturday. I got a call. And that was how the bishop and myself rushed to the scene. By then, everything was bad. But what we tried to do, we called the president of the Supreme Islamic Council, and we spoke with him, and he also informed us of everything. He, in fact, was the one who updated us as regards what happened and everything, because they were the ones who were there before.
The reason why I asked this question is that our followers are quite important in conversations of this.
Yes.
Now, if I have an issue with my neighbor, if always with neighbor, if I have an issue with my neighbor, and then I have the Christian Council that I can simply report to, then I keep quiet until it escalates to a certain extent. I am not helping myself, I'm not helping the Christian Council. In the same way, if it is the other way around, and I refuse to report to the Supreme Islamic Council until it gets out of hand, then it does not help in any way.
Yes.
The reason of asking the question is, what message do we have for the people out there? If you're a Christian and you find yourself in that kind of a situation, what is expected of you? If you are a Muslim and you find yourself in that kind of a situation, what is expected of you?
That was the reason why immediately after that matter was being handled by the police, we convened a meeting of all the pastors in the Gambia to council. And we told them that whatever issue you have at your place of worship, do not report to anybody, but report to us. So we gave them our numbers so that they would call us. And even when we went to the ministry, that was what the minister also encouraged them to do. They let them call us, and that is the reason why we are there, so that we would take it up with the responsible authorities to make sure that we would find a lasting solution to whatever the problems were. Some of the problems were not supposed to be problems. They weren't supposed to be problems. It was, for me, it was just lack of communication. And when there is a lacuna, a gap in a communication, problems would emanate.
Thank you so much. And MS, I will definitely come to you on that. You will have a point there, but it only got out of proportion because the media got involved.
Yeah, what happened mostly is the narration. Sometimes people exaggerate things. For instance, the Tanene incident was exaggerated, you know, by the narration of some people. I don't know what was their agenda, and also similarly, the Talinding incident was also exaggerated. But yeah, and Bakau. But the problem also is, as media practitioners, even if you have eyewitnesses, you know, we call it source criticism in journalism. Like, you know, when someone tells you something, you tell in your mind, sometimes you even question the person, why are you telling me this? What is your interest in this? You criticize, or sometimes your instinct. Some of the things, if they say, you will tend to understand where that is why we are professionals as journalists. Another thing is to corroborate the facts. Sometimes when things happen, it mostly happen, not the mainstream media. It mostly happen with the online media platforms. Like they say, breaking news, there is a fight between Muslims and Christians, or breaking news, Muslims are denying, Christians to bury their corpse in Tanene. You understand those kind of headlines, very sensational, and they don't. Probably it's just one person who just texts to you as a journalist or someone, a social media influencer, or maybe Watson Gambia or any other media platform.
So let's have it there.
Yeah, let me come. So now,
I will interrupt you there because there is something we have to be very realistic about. Whether it is online media or it's actually
mainstream, yeah.
We know. The fact of the matter is, most often than not, when they identify themselves as journalists,
yeah,
the press union actually embraces it.
Yes.
So in that case, I do not think I will personally forgive the press union for not, to my knowledge, ever bringing somebody to justice who has reported an incident.
No, I agree. That is why we establishes the Media Council. Even the Supreme Islamic Council can go to the Media Council and report these cases. And I will even urge them, both the Christian Council, the Supreme Islamic Council, political leaders, if anyone misquote you or give a wrong impression about something that is not true, you can go to the Christian Council. And the other thing is, as professional journalists, I believe we should definitely corroborate the facts. What you do is, you cannot just take one side of a story. You have to go to the ground and also do your investigation. I know some journalists are doing it, mainly the mainstream, but mostly the problem is, I know definitely the union will not accuse itself in this kind of problems, but engage the Media Council.
Okay, so when was the Media Council established?
It was established in 2018. 2018, yes.
The incident of Kalende and Bakau.
Yes.
Were very recent.
Yes.
What steps have you taken?
The Media Council is there.
Has the Media Council taken any steps?
Actually, I am not sure. I'm not sure whether someone has come to.
MS, you are the president.
No. The Media Council is a body of its own. So that is why GPU, for us, our interest is to advocate for press freedom and freedom of press. There was a time we were handling those matters like ethical issues. But now, because there is a Media Council, we don't want to be the judge and the jury. You cannot be advocating and then at the same time. Yes.
The Media Council was actually established in 2018.
Yes.
These incidents were very recent.
Yeah, recent. You can report even now. You can go there with your facts and say, we need something. We need Media Council to take charge, and they will. They will. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. Thank you so much. And if we have anybody who wants to say something before I go to the floor.
Yeah, just to set the record straight as regards the Bakau incident, I always would tell people the authentic report was presented by the police. The police report was what happened. If you want the true story, read the police report. The police report is the report, is what actually transpired in Bakau.
The father and my uncle said the police report was a true story of what actually unfolded in Bakau. I hope that's very clear. Thank you so much. Yes,
Yes, I want to add up like the structures that the council has. If anyone has a problem with how to report, the council is very decentralized now. We have regional, district, and even village committees. Normally, these are imams in the villages. So anytime people have problems, these are the people that they should report to at the regional level or the village level. Then if it is a minor thing that they can handle there, they would handle it. If it is beyond them, then it will be transmitted to the headquarters for matters to be handled. Now, the other issue that respect to sacred places, mosque, and of course, as far as Islam is concerned, even in the times of conflict, when Muslims were defending themselves, Prophet ﷺ would gather the soldiers and advise them. One of the advices: do not, if you find people worshiping, do not touch them and do not touch their places of worship, even if they are non-Muslims. So this is very clear in our scripture. The other thing also, when Prophet ﷺ conquered Medina and he established an Islamic state 1,400 years ago, there is a Christian community in Najran. Najran historically is a very famous place for Christians, and it fell under the command of Prophet ﷺ. But Prophet ﷺ, what he told them: do not interfere into their faith, do not remove any priest or father, leave them as they are, and do not touch their places of worship. Just to buttress how Islam advises people to respect people's worship place like churches, mosques, and synagogues.
These historical facts are the reasons for us to believe that ignorance is our greatest threat to the coexistence that we have, not only in the Gambia but anywhere in the world, is actually ignorance. Now I am at the floor here. If you have any question you want to ask, if you have a comment you want to say, let me start with you. I am going to ensure that anyone who is speaking, you don't give us a lecture. If you have a question, ask. Is that okay? We start with you, madam. You may want to tell us your name and where you come from. And then if your question is going to be directed to any one of them, his name is, we have Father Johnny and we have Dennis. Thank you.
Having a media council, I wanted to confirm this. If we have this media council, I think the sole aim is to make sure that we practice it to perfection. And from our conversation right now, it's not put to us that anything that the media council is doing to make sure that there is this stability that we need in religious tolerance. Now, I want to ask you this great question. Does the media council have any powers to make sure that even without people coming to them to tell them this is the actual problem at hand, can they go to those people that are in those problems to make sure that they fix the problem instead of waiting for those people to come to them?
Thank you. So, MS, you can note that question. Do you have any authority? Do you have any authority for you to go to those places where there is violence? Basically, okay. Next, I have a gentleman here. You have a comment? Yes, your comment cannot be more than 60 seconds.
Then you can go ahead because my comment is
120 seconds. 2 minutes, please. Nothing more than that.
Okay. Anyway, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, before I start my comment, I would like to inform everybody I am not colonized by any language. I can speak the language that I am comfortable with. Because this is an Islamic thing, I am going to speak on behalf of the Muslim Ummah in the Gambia as a representative from the Gambia Supreme Islamic Council. That's why I prefer to give my comments on the language that I am comfortable with. That is, maybe it can be Arabic, Wolof, or okay. Li ma doon wax rek mooy dafa am benn question bu mu ask lan mooy waral conflict fii si Gambia, especially diggante diine yi borom diine yi. Through my experience ak li ma dee attend dialogue ak naka problem solving diggante jullit yi ak Christian communities in the Gambia. That experience lu ma jàngal mooy the main problem ñi ko dee cause diggante faith yi mooy the authority yi ñoo dee cause su fekkee ne am na ñaareel mooy media. Number one, authority. Incident bu xew fii ok Talinding ak Bakaw ñoom ñoo report waaye jullit yi man xam naa daf dee xew Father Moses xam na daf dee xew. There are so many mu luwaas foofu start fa church di def diggante 5 to géeye daal daf dee nekk di tëgg rek with respect julli di dañ ñëw ñu ñaan ko dañ bëgg léegi su ñoo julli nga may ñu chance suñ julee yow nga continue mu agree ak gaay at the end of the day mu change agreement so gaay yi jullit yi ñëw report ko si Supreme Islamic Council ñu dem foofu whole issue bi diggante kër boobu ak jaaka bi is less than 20 minutes 20 meters ñu binda report to the Ministry of Local Government, copied to the Christian Council since 2021. And we have been following up more than 5 letters from the council to the Ministry of Local Government. Nothing was done. Every development, you forward ko with our comments. So local government must start act in any living. The problem be here. Problem is, I mean, no more journalists who report more and the problem because ñi dañ dem fofu juliti dañ nekk si nafila first day waji study tega ñi ñu ngi juli koku ngi tega si second day or third day am si mag yi nekk si jàkka bi jóg ñu ne okay dañ dem si waji okay time bi jeexna. Thank you.
Yeah, the fact is, if you're giving a comment, I am very much conscious of my time. So I will have to get excused because sometimes I'm conditioned. Do you have a question, sir? Please. You can ask 2 questions within a minute.
To one another, that we can achieve salvation. And from the discussion that we have seen here, we understand that the key problem would be ignorance. Yes, I am coming. It's ignorance. I have to connect it, so I am coming. So it's ignorance. That is why it brings me to my question. How do we inculcate the study of religious tolerance in our education sector? Because we understand from primary.
How do we inculcate the study of religious tolerance in our system? That's question number 1. Question number 4.
Okay, question number 1. I want to substantiate it because if not, the people that are responding to it might not actually voice out what I want the audience to understand. Thank you. I think I will just leave it there.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other question? You have a question?
Not yet.
Comment?
Bading Bung. And I think this is something we could work together collaboratively because Peace Hub the Gambia last year implemented this with UNFPA, and we went to all the regions to make sure that they revived the Bading Bung initiatives they had in their communities to sustain peace and development. Perhaps we could work together on it again. Thank you.
Brief and straight to the point. MS, there is the alternative dispute resolution something. That was actually formed by the central government, isn't it? Are they functional? Okay. Who has a question now? Okay, so I'm going this way. The middle table. Our champion Sam would say high table. Those in the middle table and those without table.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. My name is Babu Garfai, a student from the Gambia College School of Education, a representative of CISA, that is Students Islamic Solidarity Association. My question is directed to Mr. MS. Yes, that is first I have to acknowledge you for coming up with this great initiative, which is about the Peace Council. But like one thing that I have concern with regards to is like in the Gambia, whenever it comes to what we call policy formulation, we are very good at it. But like to ensure that those policies are implemented or put into tax is always a challenge. So my question is, what are the things that you guys or the mechanism that you have at hand to make sure that it becomes a fruitful? Thank you.
Thank you so much. What mechanisms do you have in place or you have in mind to ensure that if the Peace Council is formed, that the implementation of the policies would be feasible? Do we have any lady here? Lady, then a gentleman.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Fatih Sanyang, representing Global Platform and also a journalist. My first question goes to the Gambia Supreme Islamic Council. We have seen instances where leaders, religious leaders, come out to castigate individuals, even religion. What is the council doing to make sure that those things doesn't occur again? The other question goes to Mr. MS Ba, the president of the Gambia Press Union. We know that there are many journalists in this country, and GPU is the umbrella body. What is GPU doing to make sure that those journalists are registered and to make sure that everything that goes to the media is filtered? Thank you.
Everything that goes to the media is
Good,
filtered.
thank you.
That is your question. And Brother Omar, some people are very good at castigating other people. What is the Islamic? What you want to? You could say it's very relative. What do you mean by castigating people?
Like tolerating hate speech, which can lead to religious wars.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
thank
will
you.
answer, but it's very relative. Okay, gentlemen, he said that you have been unfair to him.
Maningol ko jiyo buka sound dinko la, but sound tanya ma enjakal dile. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. I have two questions to ask, which goes to the imam and the pastor. My first question is, what is the theology of interfaith dialogue? My second question is, what are the principles for interfaith dialogue and interfaith attitudes?
Okay, so are you asking academic questions or you want them to give you their opinion on what should happen to strengthen peaceful coexistence? That's the topic of conversation here.
Exactly.
So it's not academic questions you're asking.
Both.
Now, reframe your question in relation to what we are talking about. What do we do to ensure that there is peaceful coexistence? Reframe the question.
What I'm asking is, what are the principles for interfaith dialogue and the interfaith attitude? That's what I want to hear from both of them. So if they can elaborate on that.
Okay.
Because you told me that, based on their opinion, but you told me that these people are intelligent enough to answer questions. That is from you.
Thank you so much. Yes. Okay, I was here. Let me go. You want us to take a pause now? And okay, so I wanted to get us, I just want to take two more, so then I come on stage. Yes, sir. Comment or question?
Question. Yeah, good afternoon to you all. I am okay. My question, I said, is what are the causes of religious bias?
Some people are religious bias, he said. What could be the causes of religious biases?
Thank you very much, Omar Ba from the Standard. I just want to ask MS, if you leave this room today, back to the Union, what plans will you have in place to engage the media, more especially media houses that you think are violating this ethics? Because you talked about the Media Council and other bodies that deal with ethics, but we know they are toothless bulldogs. Even if they have teeth, they cannot bite because the laws are not there to empower them to do what they are supposed to do. Thank you.
I love that. So unless you hold people accountable and they are holding you to account, if you go back to the
First, the lady, that whether Media Council should only wait for complaints. No, they should not. They have the mandate to monitor and also decide on issues. So that has answered your question, right? Okay, the other one is inculcating, the policy formulation. They said Gambia is very good at formulating policies. What are the mechanisms, what mechanisms should be put in place to ensure that we have a vibrant peace council? First is to have a very good law that will empower the peace council. And secondly is inclusiveness, where everyone, for instance, when we were establishing the TRRC, you see the process that it took. They went to the regions, even the selection process was at the public domain. So it cannot be just elitist, like it should not be left. The third is the robust funding mechanism. For instance, the funding should not depend outside. For instance, even the councils should ensure that they have a percentage where they can probably put their money to ensure that it is vibrant. We don't just wait for EU or the consolidated fund to fund this? Yeah, so these are the things, just to make it short, because I know you've got.
Father, he also had a question.
Yes.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question states, how can you inculcate religious tolerance in the school system? Yeah, already religious tolerance is in the school system, is in the syllabus or the curriculum of our schools now. And that is the reason why in almost all the schools in the Gambia, we have teachers who are assigned or posted to teach IRK or CRK. And in the teaching of CRK, they are not only to teach religion, they are also to teach morals. And in the formation of the children, they are expected to apply those in their lives. I think maybe we need to translate that into real life. What happens after school? What happens after school? Are the children able to relate what they are taught in school with what they see in the society? Sometimes that is where the problem lies. They have good teachers who are forming them well, but when they come from school, those who would engage them later, maybe private RE teachers or ustasis, what are they teaching them? Sometimes that is where the problem lies.
So basically, you're saying it's already in the school system.
Yes, it's already in the school system.
You have another question?
Yeah, there is another one. Is Gambia a religious tolerant society? Yes, Gambia is a religious tolerant society. The reason why I'm saying this is simple. There is one issue that I did not mention. I was supposed to have mentioned it, but I forgot. What is sustaining the Gambia as regards religious tolerance is intermarriage. Intermarriage is what is sustaining our society. If the Gambia wasn't religiously tolerant, that would have been dead and gone. And I think we need to value that and appreciate that. And that is the reason why we are related with our fellow brothers and sisters. I sitting before you, my father is Muslim, my mother is Christian. I have brothers and sisters who are Muslims. I have also brothers and sisters who are Christians. Likewise, others.
Thank you so much. No better example than that.
Yes, I want to start with the curriculum issue because this is it's my interest because I am responsible is the bigger body that is WAEC, but for Gabese and the primary school level that is national. We can look into that curriculum. I think it could be a suggestion in the curriculum that seeing the trend that is happening, to see how best to inculcate that into the curriculum. But we must engage those who should put it there, because in most cases here, they will do things based on religion, and it will not be done right. When things are somersaulted, they will come back to the religious leaders. So in such things, they should involve the religious leaders to look at the content and what is authentic, to ensure that it is part of our curriculum, but it is not specific there. Yeah, the other thing, do we have religious tolerance in this country? Of course, that we have it. And if you look at our religious demography in this country and you look into other countries, you definitely appreciate the Gambia that we have. But we should not be complacent, because there are trends that are emerging. And if we don't stand firm, it could easily jeopardize that good history that we have.
The repertoire for this event from Activista, he has said that tolerance may not be dealt with in the curriculum as it ought to be. And given the trend of our society, if there is a group that will be doing that at some time in the future, let them make sure that the authorities that should be able to speak on behalf of their faith are represented in that. And I think that is quite important as a take home for Activista. Thank you. Do you have another question?
Yeah, I have a couple of Excellent. The other thing is religious leaders castigating others. I am not very sure. What do you mean, religious leaders? Because in this country, everyone is a scholar. We have that problem because the field is not controlled, the platforms are not controlled. Sometimes I've been seeing small boys being called sheikhs, muftis, and so on. You doubt where they get that. So I don't know what, but as far as we are concerned, those who read religion and understand religion, sometimes there are differences in branches of religion where people may have disagreements, but it should not result to violence. At the council's level, that is why before we had that authority where we sanction some people, some preachers, when they start saying things that are not authentic or things that will, we even, at that time, some people were even sanctioned. We are stopped doing propagation in the radios because they were promoting violence and hate speech to some ethnic groups and to some groups. And the council had that authority before. So we sanction people, we give them license to be able to control that. But now, because of your model of democracy, we do not have that. And you cannot scold anybody, but definitely, as far as Islam is called, hikmah. Call people to religion with wisdom. And this covers a lot.
So I think that is one thing I personally agree with Omar on that. You know, if you have a science question, you want to go and ask a science teacher.
Yeah.
A mathematics question belongs to a mathematics teacher. Unfortunately, when it comes to our faith, almost everybody speaks anything that comes to their minds. And that is actually the trouble. That is actually the trouble. So we go back to the questions, Omar. We hold it there for now. And as I go back to you, give me 2 other responses. And please don't forget to repeat the question.
Okay. How do we ensure that? I think Pat Sanyang asked, how do you ensure that journalists are ethical and also they register with the Gambia Press Union? Yes, we are making sure that we are even having in-house training for journalists. We are not even, we are not only engaging journalists, but also social media influencers. There was a time, I think, with Bekanyang, we engaged them and the National Youth Council, where we had people who are very vibrant online, because we don't want also, because this is press freedom, obviously people are allowed to say things, but you are not allowed to say something that will mislead the public. So we also train fact checkers to ensure that anything that is said, even President Barrow was fact checked. Anyone, several times, Halifa Saleh was fact checked, Dabo, and any other person, even influential people who are Dembo Kambi, he was fact checked. So we train people, and still we are also encouraging people to register with the union. Omar Ba, the media council, no, the other Omar Ba over there, my colleague, the media council is not yet a bulldog. That is why they are toothless, because it's a young, they are puppies as of now, but I'm sure as time goes by, they will be bulldogs and they will start biting. We are trying to see how best they can work with the Ministry of Information. I have a very strong MOU with them, because that Department of Information has a seat on the council. So how can they graduate from being puppies to bulldogs? They will start biting, and they will bite where everyone will hear. Yes, thank you.
Next question, or that's the end for you?
No. What are we going to do after here? We will continue the conversation. We are having a board meeting, and I will transmit this information there, and we will see how best we will continue this thing, and then some of the recommendations here, I will definitely transmit it, and we will think along that line. What are some of the initiatives that we can bring on the table to ensure that we are more ethical, and effective? Thank you.
Yes, the other question is the theology of interfaith dialogue. interfaith dialogue, the simple theology or the paradigm for interfaith dialogue will be found in the Gospel according to John, what we would call the story of the Samaritan woman, where Jesus said to the woman, God will be worshipped in spirit and in truth. The Samaritan woman was not a Jew. How Jesus was able to relate with a non-Jew and also a woman, showing that God accepts and appreciates everybody. That is used as the paradigm for interfaith dialogue, or you can call the theology of interfaith dialogue. Causes of religious biases in our society. What normally would cause religious bias is based on what we would call stereotyping and prejudices that individuals would have towards other faiths. And that sometimes is carried on or is transferred. You meet an individual, prejudices or stereotypes would influence your decisions towards that individual. And that is what would lead to you being biased towards this or towards that.
Thank you so much. I guess that's the last of the questions you have, Father?
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes.
Yes, I have two here. Yes, interfaith dialogue, as far as Islam is concerned. Sometimes we are very mindful with the terminologies that are advanced, that are coined to address certain issues. But we look at the fundamental issue here. Islam calls for dialogue. It calls for debate. قل يا أهل الكتاب تعالوا إلى كلمة سواء بيننا وبينكم. Say you, the people of book, come, let us come together to a word that we share, that we do not worship any other deity except Allah. That is the basics, the fundamental. So we are allowed to dialogue and we are allowed to debate. وَجَادِلُهُمْ بِالَّتِي أَحْسَنُ. You can also debate with them with respect and dignity and so on. So as far as Islam is concerned, in that aspect, might not be the other meaning of interfaith dialogue. But as far as what I've said now from these two verses, this is what we understand. And this is what we agree as interfaith dialogue between people. Now, causes of religious bias. I think it all comes back to ignorance. As I said in my preamble, Allah said, if he had will, he could have made all of us one community, one religion. But he said, you will not cease to differ. You'll continue to differ. And the Prophet ﷺ, his responsibility is to send the message. It's not to coerce people. فَذَكِّرْ إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُذَكِّرْ لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُسَيْطِرٍ. So as far as we are concerned, based on Allah's wisdom and what he decreed, people will continue to be different, but that difference must be based on respect, based on the principles of our religious scriptures, those that are involved.
Thank you so much. That has ended the first round here. I'm just going to take a few more and we will close this session.
My name is Pastor Maseka. I am the president of the Federation of Gambia Muslim Youth, otherwise known as FEGAMI. So my question is based on two facts. The question is for Father, by the way, because Mr. Omar Bojang has partly answered the question. So the facts are, one, both religions, we all agree, are based on evangelism, and that is to borrow a word from Father. That means both religions want to increase the number of followers they have. And the other thing is, we all agree that the main reason why we have religious intolerance is because of ignorance. So the question would be, what is the Christian perspective? Because, like I said, Mr. Bojang has already given the Islamic perspective. What is the Christian perspective on having a religious debate? Because I believe that we don't have issues, we don't have conflict based on the things that we have in common, right? We only have issues based on things that are different in our religions. So what is the Christian perspective on having a debate to discuss the differences between the two faiths. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yes, Jane, I come over to you. Is it a question or a comment?
I have a comment, and my comment is directed to almost everybody in this room is a young person, and we are the future. We are the ones that decide what happens to us. And in terms of religion, it basically, our religion tells us how we should live our lives and how we should interact with other people. So my words is geared towards young people. We are the ones that bring the change we need in our society. And as Mr. Bojan said, we are pioneers of what happens with us. So if we are young people, we have to be responsible. And being religious, we have people who are acting in the name of religion, that they are very religious people. Meanwhile, at the corner, they are doing something different. It's only within the public that we see that they're trying to portray religion. But what we need to do is take responsibility for our own actions. Because if we are to demand the change, we have to be the change we want to see. And most of the time, when we put all our problems or our responsibilities on the leaders, sometimes the leaders are not aware, and young people are acting on their own in the cover of religion. Religion is a very broad term. Being religious and acting religious are two completely different things. Some people are behaving like they're being religious, but they are not acting religious through our words, through our actions, and through the way we interact with other people. So it's a call for all of us as young people. We are the ones who are representing our organizations right now. I am from the Victim Center. I used to work with Activista before. But if I go back to the Victim Center, I know the category of people I am working with. In the Victim Center, we have victims of all categories, of rape, of torture, disappearance, religious. We have religious victims as well, because they were tortured on the basis of standing for the truth, for religion. And so because of that, we have a diversity where a lot of people's mentalities are not the same. And because of that, the messages that we give, the messages that we relate, it's like being a leader in the church or being a leader in a mosque. The message that you give, your followers believe it more. Even more people believe more religious leaders or religious messages more than they believe in anything else in life, because that's what guides their spirituality. So as young people, we have to be responsible. The messages we give, how we interact with people, and how we teach our young ones, because our brothers and sisters, they depend on us and they look up to us. So it's time we take responsibility, we mind what we say and how we act within the public in the name of religion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a brilliant one. And yes, I bend the rules. Oh yeah, did I? How many minutes?
Mr. President, this question is for you. What is your take on misinformation and disinformation in this country? As the president of the GPU, one. And the other one, I would like to say it's a comment. Okay, this country has one problem. The problem is not any other thing but ourselves, right? We understand quite well that the Gambia, the people are the problem. We have to change our behaviors. We have to change the way we live. I can tell you, we talk about religious tolerance here. Ignorance is one part of it. But let's be honest. It all goes back to our individual behaviors, right? Yes, it's obvious. We are from different backgrounds, different homes, and the way we are being brought up are different. So when we talk of religious tolerance, we have to go back and look at the way we live as human beings. You can tolerate anybody. So if you can tolerate anybody, someone else also can tolerate anyone as well. Without looking at their religion, without looking at the way they talk, without looking at the way they dress, without looking at what they have. We as Gambians have to change the way we live in order for us to progress. Yes.
Thank you so much. And Father, there was a question for you. Let me have your response to that. Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you. The question centers on, this question focuses on debate on issues in which the two faiths differ. Indeed, Christianity and Islam are both involved in evangelization, yes. But what is going to be the purpose of the debate? Because the two faiths are not the same. The beliefs are not the same. So if we are going to debate, we can spend the whole day and we would never come to an agreement.
That's okay. Thank you. And we have something. Let me give all of you 30 seconds to wrap up. Yeah, you have a question. You will answer your question now. Then you have 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you very much. Misinformation, disinformation is alarming. Misinformation is giving information without, due to ignorance. You give information, you don't know it is true. This information is deliberate attempt to give false information to people. It is alarming. There's a study that we did as GPU, and Malagan also did a study that there is a high level of misinformation and disinformation. And it is mainly perpetrated by politicians, number one, and some people who call themselves religious scholars. And mainly it happens during political activities. So and how we address it is through fact checking. We've trained journalists and media workers and even individual CSOs to fact check and flag anyone who peddled disinformation and misinformation. Thank you.
Let's have your last word.
My final word for this panel discussion is we as young people should definitely appreciate religious tolerance, and we should not allow to be used by any politicians or people who call themselves religious scholars at the expense of our peace and tranquility.
Thank you
We
so
have to
much.
safeguard it. Thank you.
Safeguard your peace and tranquility. Father and my uncle.
Yes. My final word will be to remind us of the fact that in one way or the other, we are related because we all originate from the same creator, and believe in him as our supreme being, and trace our ancestry from Abraham as our father in faith. And therefore, that should influence our relationship as brothers and sisters in the promotion of peace and mutual coexistence. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Brother Omar.
Thank you very much. Just to reiterate what I have mentioned, that we go back to our scriptures, we preach our scriptures, we practice and go by our scriptures. And Gambia as a nation, I think it is high time we identify our fundamental values. If you go to advanced worlds, even those championing democracy, they have their fundamental rights where democracy would not touch. But unfortunately, the Gambian society, we open our arms for everything, and this happens nowhere in the world. We must have our values together, Muslims and Christians, and we continue to protect those fundamental values.
He has said we should identify our values as Christians and Muslims and to live in accordance with those values. It is never perfect anywhere. When I was asked to moderate this session, I know it's going to be a tough challenge for me. I did not seek perfection in it. And yes, I could have made errors here. I could have given some people more time to speak than others. If I do, it is not out of my will, and I apologize for that. If you also think I have swayed at any point in time in my deliberations, that was also not intentional. If it happened, it could be as a result of my human flaw, which I will also apologize for. With that, we bring the end to this program. Thank you so much.
Islamic perspective. We understand that already. Bojang did great together with Father Moses, but again, we still would have to seek for more wisdom, so we understand issues around religion and also religious tolerance. This is why we thought it wise to have an open lecture. This is not going to take us long, except if we want to be here until 6 o'clock. But actually, our official closing time for the day is 4 p.m., if you understand what I mean. He is going to deliver a lecture, but again, he will have that time to interact with all of us. If you have questions that you want to ask, you can ask. And the good thing is, Bojang is still here with us, and I am sure during the course of the discussions, he might want to also chip in to throw some lights to make work easier for the presenter. The man in question here is Mr. Mohammed Lamin Sane, who works as the manager at Al-Falah Radio. He was actually recommended to us by one of those household names when it comes to issues around religion in the Gambia. Seh Amajete recommended him to us that we have him to deliver these open lectures for us. He is also the secretary to the media committee at the Supreme Islamic Council. So you could tell that he is vast in what he is coming to do. He has that vast knowledge in what he is coming to lecture us on. So please, let's give him our undivided attention and also let him do his presentation like we've allowed others before him. The panel discussion was a real success. We've learned a lot, and we are hopeful that he is going to add immensely to that. Please. Mr. Sane, you are welcome, please. Please give him a round of applause, please.
Salam. Good afternoon to you all. As Mr. Ansumana Kamara mentioned, my name is Muhammad Al-Amin Sane. I will be taking you through this session. As he dilated, the topic on religious tolerance and peaceful coexistence from an Islamic perspective. It is a pleasure to be here, to see my colleagues, people that I think senior me in all many aspects here. But it is not like a lecturer standing before you. It's a colleague who wants to share his experience with you and discuss with you. And I believe that what I'm going to share here might not be things that are new to you. Probably will be things that you've known already. It may serve as a reminder to you, for you to reflect upon the subject that we have at hand. So the time that I have, I want to dilate on few aspects in terms of the topics that we have. Conceptualizing tolerance and peaceful coexistence. We will also dilate on the Islamic principles on tolerance and peaceful coexistence. And we will dilate a bit on prophetic legacy regarding the topic. And then we will conclude with key points and few testimonies. So before we delve into the topic, I want us to reflect on a few points here. In the preamble of the United Nations Charter, the member states determined to practice tolerance and live together in peace with one another as good neighbors. UNESCO defined tolerance as respect, acceptance, and appreciation of rich diversity of our world's cultures our forms of expressions, and ways of being human. Tolerance is harmony in difference. Probably most of you are familiar with these definitions, but let's ponder on few questions here. We may understand what it means, and we may have different interpretation or definition of the word tolerance. The question is, how do we practice tolerance? How do we practice tolerance? What do we accept and what don't we accept? Every human being, you cannot accept everything. Every society will not accept everything. And the reason why we are different is because there are things that you have, I don't have. There are things that you believe, I don't believe. There are things that you will accept, I will not accept. That's why we see ourselves as different. We call our society a socially diverse society because we believe in different things, we belong to different groups, we speak different languages, and so on and so on and so on. So, but how do we practice this word, tolerance? Hold it there. Practicing tolerance, does it require one to battle with your personal, your cultural, and your religious dislike? Do you have to say, okay, my religion, my culture, or I personally, I don't accept this, but still, I will allow it to happen because I want to tolerate it. Is that how we practice tolerance? Do we have to also, does it mean when we want to practice tolerance, we have to give up upon values and sacred matters in our religion? Is that what it means? Do we have to say, okay, even though my religion doesn't accept, it says it's forbidden, but I will still allow it to happen? Is that what it means to allow, to practice tolerance? I want all of us to reflect on these things to understand how complex the word tolerance can be. And then if it is, the answer is yes, we have to give up upon our values, our sacred matters, our personal dislike, cultural dislike, religious dislike. We have to give up upon all of them and accept whatever comes from any other person, any person. If the answer is yes, then what happened to our religion and our culture? Why do we have religion? Why do we even subscribe to religion? If we have to accept even things that we disagree with, then why do we even have religion? And if the answer is no, we don't have to give up upon them, then must there be a red line? Should there be somewhere that we should stop and say, no, you cannot pass here. This one is not acceptable, you will not do it. So should there be a red line where you will stop? If there should be a red line, then who will draw this line? Who will say you cannot pass here? Is it me? Is it you? Is it the president, the police, the prophet, God, or who? Who will say? Who has that right to say, no, here is the red line, you cannot pass here? I want all of us to reflect on this and understand how complex the topic that we want to delve into is. Now, let's get in. If you look at the philosophical discourse on the issue of tolerance, like the hotspot where the challenge lies is how do we practice tolerance? How much can we endure? How far can we go? Because like I said, no human on this earth accepts everything. It never happened. It depends whatever he accepts, but there are things that the person will never ever accept. Then who will decide that? Is it him, or he believes a particular culture that prevents him not to do that or not to accept that? or he believes a particular religion that tells him not to do this. But something must be there that the person will die but will never accept. Each and every one of us have that. No matter how free you are, either you are a religious person or not a religious person, there are values, there are things that you will never ever accept. And there are also things that no matter what happened, nobody can stop you from doing it. You will want to put your life on the line, but you will do it. Even if they put bullet or they point a gun at you, you will want to sacrifice your life because you will tell them, I will do it no matter what. Because that's how much you believe in that thing that you want to do. That's why you may not have one definition of the word tolerance. You will have multiple definitions of tolerance. I just gave you an example by UNESCO. Now, if you look at this, Islam now takes a very balanced conception of tolerance. Balance. It is not an absolute tolerance where you may accept everything. And it is not also a very restricted or a very rigid tolerance where you will see whoever comes or whatever comes, you cannot even acknowledge differences. Whatever comes, you say no. Islam takes a balanced and moderate conception of tolerance, not leaning on the extreme part that seems to accept everything or everyone, neither holding on the neck without acknowledging the differences and diversity. Islam takes a middle path. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. We have made you a just and a moderate nation. If you look at this verse, something miracle happened here, numerical miracle. It is in Surah Al-Baqarah. It has 286 verses. Divide 286 into 2. This verse is in 144, in the middle of the surah. And the verse is telling us that we have made you a moderate, just, and a middle ummah, nation. That doesn't go into this extreme, neither to the other extreme. It always takes a moderate path. Look at the miraculous of the Quran, the miracle of the Quran. Now, tolerance in Islam is based on the belief that all humans are servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what Islam teaches us. Either one consider himself a servant of Allah, or he accept that he was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is his personal belief. Islam teaches us that all humans are created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it will take all of us few time to prove that than the one who wants to deny that and want to prove that it is not true. He will take a whole year study and a whole presentation so many times just to prove to you that he was not created by God. Or you may use only one verse. You may take a simple time to prove that you are created. The tolerance in Islam also based on the belief that all humans, listen to this belief that I'm telling you. First, we are all creation of Allah. Either you are a Muslim or not a Muslim. We are all creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all humans are created from one single soul. And who is that? Adam alayhi salam. From one single soul. Ya ayyuhan nasu ttaqu rabbakum alladhi khalaqakum min nafsin wahida. All you people, be conscious of Allah who created you from one single soul. And that is Adam. So we all believe that we are all created by Allah, and we are all created from one single soul, which is Adam, who was created from clay. 3, all humans are bestowed with honor, and all of them are to be treated as such. Despite whatever you believe in, human dignity, you cannot alter that. It was given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he said, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي Adam. Indeed, we have honored the son of Adam. You cannot take this honor from him. Yes, there are things that when he does, even the animals will be better than him. But the foundation is all human beings are honored, and none of us can alter or can take that honor or dignity from them. The other aspect, differences are natural human tendencies. We have to be different. وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ. If God wills, all of us would have been just one nation, but we are different. And we will continue to be different. You cannot make all of us the same. That is impossible. إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ وَأُنثَىٰ وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. We've created you from man and a woman, and we made you into nations and tribes for you to know one another. Those nations and tribes, you cannot bring all of them together to be the same. You cannot. So differences, Islam acknowledges our difference. He knows we will differ. We will be different. We will have different opinion. We will have different beliefs. The other aspect is, despite our difference, truth must be clearly communicated at every given chance. We are different in our beliefs. We are different in our opinion. The way we see things are different, but doesn't mean that truth does not exist. Truth is there. If I see it, it is there. I don't see it, it is there. And it has to be communicated to each and everyone at every given chance. Truth has to be communicated. People are given free will to make choices between right and wrong. Like I said, truth is there. Right is there. Wrong is there. You have a choice to choose which one to take. If you choose the right one, fine, you have your reward. If you choose the opposite, there's a consequences. Nobody can stop you from doing it. فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. But he didn't stop. He said, إِنَّا أَعْتَدْنَا لِلْكَافِرِينَ نَارًا. If you choose the right way, fine, you will have your reward. If you choose the opposite, fine, but there's consequences. Get ready for it. So each and every one of us are created, and we have this faculty to do the right thing, and we also have the ability to commit evil. But man has to make choice what to do, what to accept, what to believe in. The choice is yours. But whatever choice you make, there will be consequences. The best of people in the sight of Allah is the one who is most conscious of Allah. This one is generally known, right? People's fate, how do we end? This world and the hereafter is only best known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I cannot say whether you will go to hell or you go to Jannah. I don't have that authority to say it. Only God knows. And He is the only one who has the power to judge. But like I said, whatever you do, even if I'm not going to judge you, but there will be reward and there will be consequences. All deeds, including choices that we make, will be accounted for by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one is held accountable for the independent action of another. That is very clear. All of us will be judged. But what I do independently, he will not be held accountable for it. He has nothing to do with it. So whatever you are doing, if you think, yes, it may affect me directly or indirectly. But if you think, I am going to have a share in what you do when I have nothing to do with it, my friend, you will find yourself alone there. So you have the choice to make. Now, Islam teaches not just our relationship with Allah, but our relation with other human beings, our fellow human beings, the environment that we live in. God creation, human being, He honored them. And they are best known with dignity. You cannot take that from them. Animals, the sea, whatever Our environment, trees everywhere. You need to know how to live in that environment. So Islamic view on tolerance doesn't require acceptance and agreement with a thing a Muslim find objectionable. Like when Islam talks about tolerance, it doesn't talk about acceptance and agreement. It doesn't require you to accept a certain thing as a right thing. It doesn't also require you to agree with it. No. No. When it is wrong, it is wrong. You cannot say it's right. Even if you don't have power to alter, to change, but it's wrong, and if you are asked, you have to say it's wrong. You cannot say it's right when it's wrong, and you cannot say it's wrong when it's right. So the tolerance there doesn't require you to accept a certain thing or to agree with a certain thing. It simply requires you to respect and accept the acceptance of humanity. For example, if he is a Muslim, I am a non-Muslim. For him to be tolerant, he doesn't have to agree with what I believe in, or he doesn't have to accept the truthfulness of what I believe in, but he has to respect me for making that choice and accept my humanity. He has to accept that. But he doesn't have to agree with me. I hope this is clear. Which means you give chance to others to live as dignified humans despite differences, with the notion that no one is allowed to publicly corrupt morals and beliefs or threaten societal peace and order. Despite our differences, you don't have to agree with me, I don't have to agree with you, but I have to accept you and respect you as a human being. But with all the differences, nobody is allowed to publicly corrupt morals and beliefs of society or to threaten societal peace and order. No one is allowed to do that. It doesn't matter whatever you believe in. If your belief is calling towards destruction in society, it has to be stopped. There's no tolerance in that. Societal well-being is given precedence over individual. That has to be understood. So this view on tolerance in Islam creates rooms for different religious groups to cooperate in what? In goodness, within the dictates of Islamic scripture, where all these different people with different beliefs, different cultures, different language, different color, share their knowledge and experience and utilize those knowledge and experience for the benefit of their society. That's why in Islam, the Prophet says, Al-hikmatu dalatul mu'min. Wisdom is a lost property of a believer. Aynama wajadaha fahiya laha. Anywhere he finds it, he is the most deserving of it. Like, let's say, for example, if he's a Muslim, I'm not. I have knowledge that is beneficial to the ummah, to the nation. He cannot say, I will not take it from him because he is a non-believer. If it is useful, he has to take it. That's why learning or education in Islam, sometimes people will say, this is a secular knowledge, this one is Islamic knowledge. Scholars, even though some people also agree with this classification, but most of them focus on one thing. They said, what is obligatory? Personal obligation and communal obligation. They don't want to divide it as religious and non-religious. Most of them focus on what? What is compulsory on you as an individual and what is compulsory upon community. Meaning, if, for example, medicine, if some people study medicine and they become doctors and they are giving us services that suffice us, then fine. The rest of the community are okay. But not that every single person has to study medicine to become a doctor. I guess that is understood. Now, the principle on tolerance, over 1400 years ago, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ laid the foundation of a civilized society where balance and responsible freedom, tolerance, and the rights and dignity of all people are guaranteed. This is not today. We are not talking about something that is new. We are talking about something that is over 1,400 years ago. Some of you at least hear or read, learn about the state building process of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Medina when he migrated. So the principles on tolerance in Islam are that all divine religion are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All divine religion, Christianity, Judaism, are all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, the religion that all these prophets have is submission to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is the meaning and essence of Islam. That's why in Islam, we believe all prophets and messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without differentiating them. And all of Allah's prophets and messengers brought the same basic message. Worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and abstain, refrain from all false deities. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. Third principle is religion and belief are not forced upon people. You don't force them to believe. لا إكراه في الدين أفأنت تكره الناس حتى يكونوا مؤمنين. He told Muhammad, are you going to force people until they become believers? It is not force. إنك لا تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء. The fourth principle is that places of worship are sacred and must be guarded, like churches, synagogue, mosque. If they are in a society, they are sacred places, protect them. And also religious group, despite their differences, they can debate, they can dialogue, they can talk on issues that relate to their religion. وَجَادِلُهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. The principle of peaceful coexistence, that one is tolerant, this one is peaceful coexistence. There must be mutual agreement. For example, if you look at the life of the Prophet ﷺ in Medina, there must be mutual agreement, either a treaty, constitution, whatever you call it, there must be there. They all belong to a particular society, and the well-being of that society is a responsibility upon each and every individual of that society. There must also be justice and equality or equity. Justice and equity. There must also be solidarity. They have to work together. They have to work together towards the betterment of the society, despite their differences. And then also they should practice tolerance. They must respect one another and accept each other as human beings. There must be also loyalty to one another and loyalty to the society, to the states that they live in, because all of them are equal citizens of that nation, so they have to be loyal to that nation. These principles are subject to the interpretation of Islamic scripture. The treaty and the life of the first city of Islam, Medina, are the perfect reference for these principles. Like I said, if you listened, you read, or you listened to how Prophet ﷺ established a city in Medina, you will understand that these are some of the principles that he followed until he built a city with unity, with love, with brotherhood in Medina. Now, you look at his legacy. His arrival to Yathrib, before it was called Medina, it was Yathrib when he was coming. When he arrived, Yathrib was divided. You have multiple tribes there, Jewish tribe. You have multiple tribes, but there was disunity, fight, whatever you call it. But when he arrived, the first thing he did was to build a multi-purpose mosque where they discuss issues that has to do with the city, political issues, economic issues, security issues, family issues. Education was taking place in that mosque. It was a multi-purpose mosque. It's like a state house, for example. He also, the second thing, he established brotherhood within the people, the inhabitant of the city. Without unity, there is nothing that you can achieve. He called all of them and bring them together and said, and established brotherhood to them. Until to a point that before they understand more about Islam, one person from Medina hosted a muhajir, one who migrated from Mecca. The brotherhood becomes so strong that the person suggested to him that I have a lot of wealth. If you want, I will give you half of my wealth. And I have not only one wife. If you want, I will divorce one, choose one of my wives that you want, I will divorce them and you take it. The person told him, no, show me where the market is. I will go there and do what I have to do. And the person did and became one of the richest among the Sahaba. So after establishing brotherhood between the Muslim, the Muhajirin and the Ansar, he knew there were people who were not Muslims. And more of them are Jewish. He now established a treaty, what you now know as Sahifatu al-Madina. And that's Constitution of Medina. It is said as the oldest written constitution in human history. The way it established a just, balanced, and tolerant society, it never happened before, and it never happened after. That was the legacy of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The treaty was called Sahifatu al-Madina, where different religious groups coexisted, and each of them was allowed to worship according to their faith. And all of them have to cooperate for the security of the city. And none of them is to go outside and cooperate with an enemy or an outsider to attack the city. They all agree that anytime an enemy comes, all of them have to join together, join forces, and make sure that they protect their city. This was a city, a tolerant city, a just city built upon brotherhood, love, tolerance, and understanding. Yes, loyalty. But the treaty was between mainly from the Muslims and the Jews. The Christians, according to scholars in Medina, they were not many. But around the southern part of Medina, you have the area called Najran. It is highly populated by Christians. So Muhammad has a control in that area. But look at the letter he wrote to Christians in that area. He told them, in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious, the most merciful. This is the pact of Muhammad, the prophet and messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the people of Najran under his rule, meaning under my rule. The lives of the people of Najran, meaning the Christian, and its surrounding area, neither land, property, their religion, and those of them who are present and absent and their places of worship are under the protection of Allah and guardianship of his prophet. Their present state shall neither be interfered with, nor their rights meddled with. No bishop or priest shall be removed from his office. They shall not be compelled to military services, neither shall teeth be imposed on them. This was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There was a man. The problems that we are encountering today, we are discussing it today. These solutions were provided 1,400 years ago, but humanity is still adamant. He doesn't want to go back to that, and he still cannot provide solution. We will continue talking if we refuse to go back to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know why? Ma yantiqu anil hawa in huwa illa wahyun yuha. Whatever he said, he didn't say it out of his own whims and desires. Whatever he said was revealed upon him. Before Medina, Habasha, Ethiopia, what we know as Ethiopia, was the first place Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to his people to with a remark. We know for 13 years in Mecca, all of you know Islam in the infant days, how they suffered, how they were maltreated, persecuted. Some were killed. They were denied food, economic boycott, all sort of difficulty you think of. They faced everything until they could not endure it anymore. The Prophet had to tell his people, please go to Habasha, where we know as Ethiopia. He told them his remark. The king that was there was not a Muslim. He was a Christian. But listen to what Muhammad told his people. He said, there is a leader in the presence of whom no one is oppressed. Go there. He didn't resort to any Muslims because they were not many. He resorted to a Christian king, a brother. They went there. And that, you know what happened? The dialogue between the people who went there, especially when Ja'far spoke on behalf of the Sahabas that went there, the interaction there has influenced the king and he became a Muslim. He could now see the closeness between Christianity and Islam. He knew this was the same religion and he became Muslim. So when they arrived there, the Muslims were accorded with befitting hospitality by the Christian leader. Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was also reported to have returned the same good hospitality to the Christian delegation from Ethiopia, Habasha, that came to Medina in his time. When they came, the group of Christians from Habasha, you know what he told them? He said to people, no, they honored our companions, so I want to honor them myself. He didn't say them, okay, they are not Muslims, they are not this, they are not that. He said, no, they honored my people. I want to honor them myself. He want to make sure that he provide them the best hospitality that he could. The companion of the Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam extended this unique legacy of Muhammad to the lands they administered. Different religious groups peacefully and cooperatively coexisted as long as the laws are abided by and agreements are honored. Because one that is not existing, conflict will come. So if you want us to sit here peacefully, there must be things that we will agree upon. In this country, we have a constitution. It doesn't belong to me, it doesn't belong to you. We believe that that's what governs us. It tells us what to do, it tells us what not to do. So our loyalty is not to me, it's not to you, it's for the nation. That's what binds us together. Now, the important points that I want to highlight here, the concept of tolerance and peaceful coexistence in Islam are not absolute, like I said before. Islam takes a moderate part. They are not absolute, which means evil and immorality are not condoned. Never. That's why if you say, here scholars saying that this is haram and they bring authentic evidences, kill them, but they will never say it's halal. That is not tolerance in Islam. When it's wrong, it's wrong. That doesn't include tolerance. It doesn't include evil. It doesn't include immorality. And who decides what is evil and what is immorality? Not me, not you. We all listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what the Prophet ﷺ told us. Treasonable act and traitors are punished. Like I said, loyalty is for the nation. When we have people who are traitors, they acted treason, they committed treason in the nation, they have to be punished. Even in this country, if you are part of coup plot, you don't see peace. I think they consider the act of treason. So that one is non-negotiable. Once you are guilty of it, you'll be punished accordingly. We will not say because of this or that, blah, blah, we will not tolerate it. Because if you do it, other person will do it, the nation will never ever move. So treason is an act that has to be punished. But this punishment is not upon me, it's not upon individual, it's the state that has the power to do so. Not me or anybody or any other person. You cannot organize mob, and we decide on the person, whatever we do. No, no, no. It is the state that has the responsibility to do this. And also, when we talk about tolerance, it doesn't mean dawah is negated. No, dawah has to continue. We have to continue enjoying good and forbidding evil. Because of some people are doing it and it's wrong, you don't want me to say it? No, I have to say it. At any given chance. Yes, I have to be careful how I say it, because I am also taught how to say it. So I have to make sure I follow those teachings. But you cannot silence me. When it's wrong, it's wrong. And we will continue to say what is good, and we will continue to say what is wrong. Even if we don't like it, fine. But we will say it as long as we will not, break the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will say it. And it has to be said at any given chance. What is dawah? Simply advocacy. Social work, education, health, humanitarian work, etc. People's culture and traditional practices are not objected to unless they are conflicted with the teachings of Islam. What they say in usul, they say, al-aslu fil ashya al-ibaha. What people do, their culture, the norms, the things that they do, what they wear, what they eat, what they do, what they blah. Sharia doesn't say anything about it. We cannot say it is not good unless and until we have an authentic evidence that said this one it should not be done. But otherwise, the original ruling is good. Islam has no problem with it. So, however, Islam teaches respect towards other religious groups, even when we find that a certain cultural practices, a certain norms in the society are conflicted with the teachings of Islam. Yes, at any given chance, we have to make it clear. But Islam teaches us to respect other people, to respect other religious groups as well, and not to interfere in their practices of their faith. It is also an act of tolerance to respect people for not participating in practices that are against the teaching of their religion. For example, in this country, when certain things are done, maybe so many people are doing it, and we used to do it. One person came and said, this one is not permitted in Islam. And truly, there are evidence, authentic evidence that shows that, yes, these acts are not permitted. You should not have any problem with it. Yes, this is what makes us different. If I said my religion doesn't allow me to participate, my friend, respect me. Respect my decision, because my decision says no. Other issues, yes, we can join together, we do. But when my religion says no, and I make the decision that no, I will not participate, it is an act of tolerance for you to also accept that decision that I made, that I will not participate in this activity. Don't see me as someone who is extremist, someone who is backwarded, someone who is this or that or that. No, respect me. Respect the decision that I make. That this one, I will not participate in it. Why? Because my religion says no. That's what makes us different. There are testimonies about religion, because most of the time, when we talk about religion, tolerance, especially religious tolerance, media hasn't gone much about Islam. Media has done a lot of terrible things about Islam. Until some people will say, Islam remains the most misunderstood religion on earth. You know why? Propaganda, lies. Especially on the side of media. Yes, I work in the media. Especially on the side of media. Especially on the side of media. So, but sometimes it's good you look at the people that live at the golden ages of our time, when we almost rule this entire world. How our Khalifas, they rule their people, even people that don't subscribe to their religion. This scholar says, the first Muslims at the time of the Caliph did not just respect the Christians, Nestorians, and Jewish scholars. They also delegated many important tasks to them and promoted them to the highest offices of the state. Meaning, they live in the state, their lives and properties are protected, and then they give employment, jobs based on merit. If you are qualified, you are able to do it, they give you a job to work in the state. That's why he says, promoted them to the highest offices of the state. Mr. Wells also said in his discussion about the teaching of Islam, he said, it established great tradition of just interaction, and it inspires in people a spirit of generosity and tolerance. It is human in character, and its principle may be readily applied in real life. About Islam, he said, it is filled with the spirit of kindness, tolerance, and brotherhood. I've taken you much of your time. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you.
Very brilliant presentation. So quickly before you take your seat, if you have questions that you want to ask to engage him, please raise your hand. We will take a first round, a second round, and then we'll call it for a day. Who have a question that you want to ask, please, or a comment that you want to? Your name.
Is it Mr. Sane? Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation, and Activista as well for organizing such a forum. Very, very educative. So, Mr. Sane, I have a question. As far as this dialogue is concerned, before you leave us here today, what specific advice do you give us? Because this is something very, very important. And as an expert in this area, So we would love for you to give us an advice so that whatever we are doing, we can double our efforts to make sure we maintain peace and tolerance wherever we are. Because interfaith is something very sensitive, but with your intervention and other people, I think we can still do more that will help us to maintain peace in this country. And there is also, that's a comment anyway. If you go to Kuliya al Kafirun, where it says, La Kundin Kumole Din, I think that also is something very, very powerful because it helps us to live as Muslim, Christian, and any other faith. Because you have your religion, I have my religion. And we are all honored people. If I am a Muslim or a Christian, so I should not look my brother who is another faith. And I said that, no, I will not take care of him or her because he also is not a Muslim. No. As you mentioned or stated here, we are all honored. And this is stated in the Quran. I think that alone should help us or should make us relieve whatever we have in our heart to live in peace and harmony. So this is what I have. I thank you all for your attention. Can I answer this first? You want to answer first? Yeah, before I will forget what he said. Okay, regarding the advice in terms of issues of tolerance, my sincere advice to you is study your religion. If you believe you are a Muslim and you believe that you belong to Islam or Muslim group, please make sure you study your religion. Please make sure you know what is your religion. You cannot rely on people, you cannot rely on social media, you cannot rely on blah, blah, blah. Make sure at least the basics ones. I'm not asking you to become a scholar. Even in Islam, not everybody is obliged to become a scholar. A few people are become scholars in our society and they are able to solve our problems regarding the religion, the entire community is saved. But that doesn't mean that each and every one of us should be ignorant about the basics of our religion. You have to know how to pray. You have to know what is your relationship between you and Allah. You have to know how to fast. There are basics you need to know. And then if you may not know in detail, but at least the basics one, make sure you know that. And I said that, and make sure that you stick on your religion. Let's say, for example, the reason why we are so disturbed with regards to tolerance is because we don't study our religion, number one. And number two, we compromise a lot. If you believe in a religion, you believe in certain things that are acceptable, you believe in certain things that are not acceptable. When they come, they are not acceptable, make it clear they are not acceptable. And with regards to lakum dinukum waliya din, yes, all of us, we all belong to religion. Take your religion and take my religion. But in Islam, there is something that is very important. You believe your religion as the only true religion on earth. Because if you believe that I'm a Muslim and he is this, our religions are equal, then why do you become a Muslim? Why? Why do you become a Muslim? Why do you stick on there? You believe that your religion is the truest religion on earth. And if we don't have time, otherwise I would have given you 4 examples, characteristics that make Islam the only true religion on earth. That no other religion has those characteristics. Number 1 is name. It doesn't name after anybody. It is not named after any geographic location. It is not named after any color of people or a language group of people. It is a name that also shows the real essence of the faith itself, Islam, the real submission to God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the second, it is the first religion. It started from the first creation, human, that is Adam. It started from there. Nobody was there before Adam. So the religion that starts from Adam and the religion that came after Adam, if your religion came after Adam, what is the fate of those who came before you? How are they going to be judged? And the third is the name itself is mentioned in the scripture. Dinola Buko Famakona. It's mentioned there. Inna dina indallahi al-Islam.
go and check other religion, whether the name itself, the name of the religion is mentioned in their scripture. The name itself, it is not. And it is a name that calls to only the strict monotheism, worship strictly only Allah, no other creation. It is the only religion. These are few aspects that you can compare with any other religion. A religion that is named after a person has a problem. A religion that is named after a particular geographical area has a problem, because it's not a religion. A true religion has to be universal. It cannot belong to a particular geographic area or a particular language group or a particular race. It cannot. For religion to be a true religion, it has to be a universal religion. So that's why I said, if you have time, you will have gone more.
Quickly, we are taking another point. We are taking a question from the so what I want us to do is to limit our questions to
And I was going to raise that to begin with, and I think all you've said here clearly highlights how Islam as a religion promotes tolerance. However, I asked the question in the morning, is the Gambia a religious tolerant society? And some of the key points highlighted were intermarriages that happen amongst us and all. But if you would ask me personally, I would say it's not, I would not even call it a religious tolerant society. Because to begin with, I think the Gambia is one place where some Muslims would call other religious groups as kafir. It's in this country. And we understand that these are early warning signs that could cause serious conflicts. Let's take an example of other countries in the world. The reason most of these countries fought is because of religion and ethnicity. And this is a clear manifestation in the Gambian context. So if we continue as a nation to label other people as kafir, another example, I am not calling for a debate, please, but let's take an example around the issue of secularism when the new constitution was brought on. This went on and on and on and on and on for over months, where we had other key things that could really, and the point you mentioned about learning your religion is important. Perhaps a lot of us were not privileged. I would say personally, I went to St. Peter's. Obviously, you would do Islamic studies and you would do CRK compulsory, right? And then I come forward to really study religion and diplomacy and how they're interrelated. And obviously, I would have at least an idea of how religion is really contributing to shaping the world we live in today, but also how it's causing a lot of conflicts in the world we live in today. And whilst we leave this space, I would urge all of us to first really clear the perception that other religious groups are kafirs. They are not. Our religion taught us to really respect diversity, to be tolerant, to be kind to other people. Let's carry on with that practice. If you would do your dawah, please do it civilizedly. Don't insult other people. Don't cross their lines. The Gambia is a small state. Once we have a fight, we're all done. No jokes. We're less than 3 million. So I hope we're able to really reflect upon this as a nation and see how best we would promote peace, sustainable peace, social cohesion to realize our development agenda as a nation. Personally, this is what I want to say. Thank you.
I think he has to answer first, or I still raise the questions.
You want to answer that, or
I think it was a comment.
Okay.
If you want to react to that. If you have a question, you can ask it.
Okay, first, my name is Bauka Faye again from the Gambia College. Okay, I will first love to, is it Mr. Sanyang? First love to compliment you for those wonderful elaboration that you have made mention. Definitely it was thanking and it was elaboration too. I mean, my question will be regarding to the topic or the theme, how Islam promoted peaceful coexistence. From your elaborations, I got to understand that there were a lot of things, I mean, that was to be implemented in our society that Islam teaches 1,400 years ago. But like in your statements, you made mention that the media, especially in the aspect of the media, that they used to make what we call propagandas. And second, people do not used to judge Islam based on its true doctrine, but based on, I mean, how other people appears to them. So what is your point of perspective with regards to those type of people? Thank you.
so many things here. So my question is very straightforward. You mentioned about sacred places like mosques and churches should be safeguarded. How about the issue of the graveyard? What Islamic principles should we take note of the graveyard to be safeguarded as well as the churches and the mosque? Thank you very much.
So Gambia is a tolerant society. In my opinion, I believe yes, it is. God forbid what happened in the other country happens here. If you move outside this country, you realize that we have something that we need to treasure. We have something that we don't realize what actually it is. It is human nature. Whatever you have, whatever is at your disposal, you don't value it. You look for something else until you lose that. There you value what actually you had. So if you come to the issue of kafir, definitely not everyone on this earth is a Muslim. And if you are not a Muslim, you are something else. You are a kafir. But do I have to be going around and say, you are kafir, you are kafir, you are kafir? No, I cannot say that. I cannot even say and say kafir. You cannot do that, isn't it? But when it is you are asked to ask them about the belief and you have to say it. You cannot say they are Muslim, they are not. You cannot say that. If you say that, why are you going to displease your people and you displease Allah? You cannot do that. You cannot sacrifice yourself for other people. Yes, I cannot be preaching here, insulting, shouting, and blah. Islam doesn't teach us that. Whoever does it, he's doing whatever he's doing. And then, like I said, even if someone is a non-believer, kafir literally, it means someone who is ungrateful. Like you are created by God and you have been provided sustenance, your oxygen that you breathe with, everything that you do, God provides for you, and you don't want to recognize him. Let me give you a typical example. No one compares Allah with the creation, but let me give you this. If you are my parent, you are my father, you give birth to me, you provided every care that I deserve. You provide education for me, health care, everything, until I grow up and I become on my own. I have a good job. I now have money. I have this. Even in the morning to tell you, Isama, I don't do it. I don't even talk to you. I don't give you anything. How would you feel? You feel betrayed. You feel that your son is not grateful for what you've done for him. Your father will feel disappointed until his death. Nobody compares God with the creation. But imagine what God has done for you is far bigger and greater than what your father has done for you. So you turn your back. You don't even recognize him as God. That's the root word kafir, someone who is ungrateful. He doesn't recognize the ni'mah, the blessing that he is enjoying from Allah. So the technical meaning is someone who disbelieves in Allah, who associates partner with Allah, or doesn't belong to the fold of Islam. He is outside. It's kafir. I don't know, sometimes people are so scared when you say kafir. How do you call me kafir? I mean, I have no right. The Prophet says, if you tell someone who is a true believer, you call him kafir. It is either, if the person is kafir, yes, but if he is not, you are. So it's very severe. You just jump in and say someone is kafir. If you hear scholars saying it, take your time, ask them why they say it. They know the gravity of it. If you say that it's not true, there is consequences. So that's why they do their research. They do whatever they do before they conclude that someone is kafir. And the fact that someone is with me and say la ilaha illallah with me, there are certain things if you do, there are conditions that will make you kafir. If those conditions are broken, you will not become Muslim. Conditions are there that will make you a Muslim. If you are not upon those conditions, you don't want me to call you kafir, then who are you? I will not be going around and say, so and so is kafir, so and so. If I see you, I say, hey, kafir. I cannot do that. But when I am asked about issues, I will say yes. If you believe in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that belief is out of Islam. Just those who believe in this, they are kafir. If they take offense of that, then that is fine. But what I'm saying is not from me. I have no right to call anybody person a kafir. If I say it, then I must be asked why, and I have to provide my reason. If I provide my reason, my evidence, and they are authentic, if you disagree, then that's between you and God. But I have not done anything that is wrong. Regarding your question, that's why I want to ask. What was it? Just brief. Okay, Georgian Islam based on hearsays. That's why I give the advice. Someone asked me, I said, learn your religion from people, especially the time that we are in. There are a lot of information out there. A lot of information out there. Those information, if you read, you will never ever knew that they are not in Islam unless you ask a competent and qualified person. So that's why it is important to know whom you take your religion from. If you are to study Islam, make sure you have someone who is competent and a well-known someone who is qualified and competent. If you read, you have some certain questions, please ask the person to clarify it for you before you rely on what someone says on social media. Sometimes contexts are different. Sometimes we do that. You listen to a video clip on TikTok or WhatsApp or whatever, and the person says, so this and this and this is haram, it's not good. You want to apply that to our society. Sometimes cultural issues also affect how fatwas are given. We have to understand that. People's culture, the way they live, also affect the type of fatwa given on the same issue. I don't know whether you understand. That's why scholars that are qualified in fiqh, if they live in Saudi Arabia or in Turkey, if you ask them certain questions, they will say, ask your local scholars. Because they will not want to give you fatwa. You cannot give that fatwa until you know the culture and how the poor people of that country or society lives. There you go. That's why it's important you study your religion and you refer to the qualified scholars. Thank you. What was that? Like I told you, mosque was places of worship. Like I said, it's part of tolerant Islam. You respect them. You don't. That's why even in war, when the battle is happening, nobody is allowed to tear down a church. You don't. You allow them to worship and you don't interfere in their worship. Allow them to, either it is a mosque or not a mosque, respect them and make sure that it is protected. In Umar ibn Khattab time, there was a governor that was appointed in Egypt. He wanted to expand a mosque. And then a woman was there who is a Christian. And the compound is very close to the mosque. So they want to expand the mosque. They have to remove the compound so that the mosque will be wider because people are many now. So the woman did not allow. Even they offer her something, money, she didn't accept. And then the governor went ahead and tear down his house and expand the mosque. The woman went to the Umar ibn Khattab and reported the matter. Umar ibn Khattab called him and said, when did I employ you to become tyrant upon your people? He called the woman and tell the person to return his land or house back to her. And whatever was destroyed was returned back to her. And likewise, in Jerusalem, Palestine, you know, it is only Muslim that control Palestine and everybody was living there in peace. When Umar conquered, people were living there. All religions were worshiping, going to their mosque, their churches, their synagogue, worshiping. Nobody was there to interfere in anyone's business. It was taken from Umar. Salahuddin Ayyubi took it back, and it was there until the British took. And when they took it from that day to upon now, conflict upon conflict, conflict upon conflict. When our people were in charge of that place, there was nothing but peace. Everybody was, you know, the place has an interest. Christians have interest, the Jews have interest, Muslims have interest. But everybody during our time, when our people were in there, they make sure that all the sacred places, mosque and worship places were protected. Graveyard, the same thing. People in Islam, you honor death. When someone is alive, the way you honor him, you honor the person when he died. So that's why graveyards are also allocated specifically, and then they are, like for example, when Christians have their graveyard and the graveyards that it belongs to them, or maybe like in our society, Alcalo or Sefo or government or whatever, who has the authority, allocate a specific land to them for them to use it as the graveyard. No one has the right to take it from them. No one has that right. Either they are Muslim or they are not Muslim, no one has that. It has to be. Yeah, sometimes there are sort of, yeah, you see, sometimes there are issues are complex. You may not understand everything based on the report on the media. Journalists, they will not tell you everything. They don't have time to report everything. They will just give you synopsis of what happened. Sometimes they say it in a way that you will like, or you will subscribe, or you will even view or read what they are. Not necessarily exactly what happened. So sometimes certain issues, before you complain or you talk about them, make sure you have first-hand information. Certain issues, you react based on what you hear on media. You react, you say, and when you deep, you know, you become disappointed. You regret what you said before. So certain issues happen here. You cannot comment on them just like that. You have to go deeply and know what exactly happened, the root cause of the problem, in order for you to solve the problem. Thank you.
So we have one more round, and then we close.
I have a comment and then a question, but my question can only be asked if you are the Supreme Islamic Council. You are the Supreme Islamic Council. Whether you work there, is what I mean. Okay, thank you. So my comment is, you talked about tolerance in the sense that you say it's your right to tell somebody, I cannot do this because my religion does not warrant me to do this. Okay, I am saying that we should say it in a very good way, like avoiding hate speech, because sometimes we feel like it's our religion that is saying we should say this, but we should know how to say it. Because I was fortunate to be a Christian before being a Muslim, so I experienced so much of this. So I was just trying to comment on it to see how best we can also consider it as well. So my question is, since you said you work at the Supreme Islamic Council, have you guys thought of even not national, like let's say all the imams in the country, but at least let's say as much as you can get to bring them